So what was my plan in life? I didn't have one. I was incapable of having a plan, right? I was incapable of having some sort of linear dream. I had this kind of vision of what life was supposed to be like, but I didn't have the tools necessary to accomplish them,
Yeah.
right? So it took a while to really hit rock bottom, but it was the best darn thing that ever happened to me. I thought March 20th was going to be the worst day of my life, and I would always remember this as the worst day of my life, where I finally hit, hopelessness and brokenness and despair. Now it's the best darn day I've ever had, right? Because it's given me everything, right? I wouldn't be a priest today without my addiction to alcohol and hitting rock bottom. I wouldn't be happy the way that I am, right, if it wasn't for that addiction. It's like people who have lived in great darkness, they appreciate the light even more,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
A starving man appreciates, even the most simple meal after a long period without, right? I lived a long period without anything, when it comes to goodness or hope. And here I get to live it, right? And I'm very privileged to live two lives in one lifetime. So I need to share that with people. And I think God persevered and called me to the priesthood so that I could share that message with others.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Dispatch. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Just do us a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section about what you liked about the episode. If there's someone or anyone you guys want us to reach out to and have them on the show, let us know. If you would like to come on the show, hit us up. We would love to hear from you guys as well. This episode is brought to you by Murphy Carter Law. If you are a first responder and you are hurt in the line of duty, don't deal with work comp, you guys. I've dealt with them time and time again. It's a pain in the ass. I've dealt with them for my shooting. Get an attorney on your side. Have that ease and that mindset of not having to worry about all the legal BS that comes with it. Hit up Murphy at Murphy Carter Law. You guys will not be disappointed. If you want to support the channel, you want to support the podcast, go to beyondthedispatch.com, check out our merch section, pick up a shirt, pick up a koozie, hat, whatever, you guys. We do appreciate all the support you guys have given us this far. Well, today's episode is a special one. I've seen this man publicly speak myself. I've listened to him at his church. He's very compelling. He is unapologetic, I think, and I like that about him. This is going to be a great episode. We have Ryan Brady, Father Ryan Brady, in for the St. Christina's Parish in the south side of Chicago. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You are also the CFD chaplain as well, right?
I am the pastor of a parish. We have 2,400 families, about 8,000 souls. We have also another 5,000, more or less, active members of the Chicago Fire Department, and then about 4,000 or 5,000 retirees as well.
Love it. And you're a south side guy, right?
I'm pastor of my home parish.
Love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Love it.
So you had mentioned where to put the compliments. What about the complaints?
They could put same section.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to complain about me, though, just keep it to yourself.
I love it, dude.
Yeah.
I love it. So you mentioned, so you're a south side guy. How is it practicing in your hometown, your home church? Like, how is that for you?
So, I mean, a lot of times it's awesome. Sometimes it's a bit challenging.
Right.
I've not had the easiest, straightest path to the priesthood. I had a lot of hiccups in my life. I entered seminary at 17. I wasn't ordained a priest till I was 37. A lot of hiccups, a lot of bumps in the road in the middle of that. And, navigating through some of those places where a lot of the big hiccups and roadblocks happened in my own community, in my own neighborhood. Sometimes it's a little challenging, but to be honest with you, the vast majority of it is phenomenal. And part of it is I love that people can see and they can sit down and ask me like adults, hey, what's going on in your life that has led you to where you're at? And, like all of the stuff that's gone on in my life is the reason I'm here as the priest in my home parish. So I'm there because of the hard times, not in spite of them. Right. So that's a good example for the people in my community. My neighborhood's predominantly first responders, right? Police, firefighters in the city of Chicago. So my life, my hiccups, my, pitfalls, all the rest of it have contributed to my flourishing as a priest, right? And my goal is, and my hope is that people can see that in a way that it can inspire them. Like, listen, your worst days don't define you. Your best days do.
Agreed.
Right? Your resilience is what defines you. Your perseverance is what defines you. You know, everybody screws up. You name a perfect guy, and I'm going to call BS on him.
Right.
Right? But let's not, you know, plant a flag of look how I screwed up. But let's also let's move beyond it. Right? Let's not define ourselves by it. Let's move on and be strengthened by it. Let's persevere. So, I mean, that's a great thing for me in my community to be back at home, right? So, I mean, that's great. Sometimes I got to watch about what I preach on.
Right.
Like if I want to use my brother as an example of what not to do, and my mom's sitting in the pews going, no, that was you.
That was you.
That was you. I know better, right?
Yeah. Try to throw him under the bus.
Yeah. I
As
can't
brothers do.
Yeah, I can't throw my brother under the bus with stories about stupid stuff I did.
Right.
Because they know.
Right. She's like, no, I remember that was 100% you.
Yeah, and we've got a school with 500 kids in it.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through the school, and some of the kids would go, "My dad said in high school," and I'm like, "Oh no."
Oh, here we go.
What did your dad say? But no, it's 95% of the time, 99% of the time, it is an absolute ball. Even the difficulties in the trials are still extraordinarily rewarding, right? I love being able to walk through the neighborhood and remembering, what was, savoring what is, and looking forward to what's going to be all at the same time.
Yeah. That's awesome. There's something special about serving your own community that brought you up as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's definitely special.
Yeah. And for me, even before I was back at my home parish, the community was always very special to me. The neighborhood was always very special to me. And it's not addresses, right? It's the people.
Yeah.
Right. So in my school, we have 500 kids, like I said. 80% have one or both parents in the police or fire department.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a huge, huge amount of first responders in the community. In addition to that, you'll have public school teachers, Catholic school teachers, you'll have nurses, right? So, I mean, this is an incredibly selfless community.
Yeah.
And to be able to serve them is a real privilege.
Yeah. I've been to your guys' mass, and you guys do have a nice little shout out to first responders, firefighters, police officers, military, absolutely.
Every mass.
And I've been there twice. The first time I came to see you with Rick, you weren't there. You were scheduled to be there. I don't know what happened. Probably scheduling. Life happens. I get it. And then I came back the following Saturday. Happy I did, because I actually got to see you up there in action and give your your address to your community, and it was actually really special. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can get away with more with them, right?
Yes.
Like I can challenge them a little bit more. And what's funny as a priest, and I hope, if there are any priests out there listening, like the more I challenge my people, the more I kind of push them. There's been a few times where I say something at the pulpit and I'm like, ooh, gosh, that might have been a bit much. But after mass, they'll come up to me and say, that made me pretty uncomfortable, and I'm glad.
Yeah.
Right. Because if we're comfortable in treading water, we're not doing it right.
Right.
No matter what it is that you're doing. Right. We've got to consistently refine ourselves. We've got to consistently strengthen ourselves. We've got to consistently dig deeper in our relationships with each other and our relationships with God. Treading water is just not an option.
No, and I think it's that comfortable. I think people get caught and stuck in that comfortable, right? The unknown is scary to them. And putting in that additional hard work or whatever it's going to take for you to get to that next step is scary. So I think a lot of people fall into the known pain or known day-to-day life.
Oh, and then you're curious, like, well, I'm in a rut. What happened? Well, you quit exerting yourself, right? And then the scary thing is never underestimate a human being's ability to live within and wallow in their own misery.
Yeah.
Right? People can initially choose to live in a real sad, dark place.
Right.
Right? Because they don't want to put the effort to get out of it. And then all of a sudden you're trapped. And now you're trapped. You're like, well, how do I get out of this? Well, I mean, you've already lived in that rut so long that it's going to take more extreme measures to get out of it. But even still, there's no place so far from happiness that you can't make it back.
Agreed. 100%. That's, anyone's listening right now, take that as, gospel, I guess you could say, because it's true.
Yeah, it didn't come from the words of our Lord, but directly. But that's pretty much the reason that God has given
Right.
us, right? God has given us life so that we can live happy. God has given us life so that we can live joyfully. God has given us life so that we can live within a community to enrich each other and strengthen each other and love each other, right? All that is 100% true. Now, we are fallen human beings. We fail all the time, right? There's not a single guy or gal out there that hasn't, right? So it's in overcoming that God strengthens us and refines us even more.
Right.
So think of a symphony, right? I love going to the symphony. And when I'm there, I think about this analogy, and I heard this once before, is like our sins or our missteps or our mistakes or our failures, whatever they are, they're like a guy in the symphony playing the wrong note, right? Yet God recognizes that as the conductor, and he begins to call up other musicians to drown out that missed note in an abundance of beautiful music
Yeah.
so that we can continue, we can move forward, and the music is even richer and even
Yeah.
more beautiful after the misstep than it was before.
Yeah. 100%.
So, like our worst days, again, they don't define us,
No.
but they can refine us, strengthen us, and purify us to be even better going forward.
Agreed. And I think people need to remember too that like, healing is not a linear path.
Oh, no, not
You're
at
going to
all.
have ups and downs, and the challenges that are placed in front of you, I mean, they're put there for a reason. It's just how are you going to overcome them? Are you learning from your past mistakes, or are you still making the same mistake?
Yeah. And, we can make the same mistake for a long, long time. And one day you're going to look back and go, I haven't done that in a long time. I haven't doubted myself this way in a long time. I haven't. So, like, it's like the frog in the pot, right? You start
Yeah.
to slowly, turn up the temperature, and he doesn't realize, he's getting cooked.
Right.
Well, the same is true in the opposite direction. We can consistently refine ourselves and strengthen ourselves, and it happens slowly. Even though it's up and down, as long as we're continuing to make a progression,
Exactly.
we may not realize it, right? And
And
you
you
get
don't.
down on yourself, and you get to be despairing or whatever, and it's like, no, man, chill out. Take a good look at yourself. Take a good look at yourself 6 months ago. Take a good look at yourself a year ago. You've made an incredible progress,
Right.
right? So sometimes we look at each other um, in the mirror and we're like, oh gosh, where have I come? What have I done? How much progress have I made? Yet everybody else around us is looking at us going, something different about you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm happy, right? But you who look in the mirror every day, you don't see the degree to which you are happy compared to the way you were before.
Right.
And it takes time and it takes effort, but it's not just our effort, right? We got to bring in other people. We got to talk to other people. We got to pray. Nobody wants us happier than God,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not a believer, whatever, that's fine, right? I don't know how, right?
Right.
As a priest, I think, you know, as a believer, and I'm a priest because I'm a believer. I'm not a believer because I'm a priest, right? So I lived without real hope. I lived without real faith. I lived without real confidence in God, right? There was times where I thought, I know God's all loving and all knowing, but why is my life shit, basically,
Right.
right? And so he mustn't love me, right? Talk about ultimate despair. That's even worse than not believing in God, right?
Right.
Saying, oh, I believe in him and I know
Or
he
you're
loves
forsaken by
everybody.
him. Yeah.
But he doesn't love me, So like nobody wants us happier than God, right? So if nobody else believes in you, believe that he believes in you and he wants to take care of you and he wants to love you, right? But we got to be in conversation with him through our life of prayer so that we can understand where he longs to leave us or lead us and leave us, really. But like, don't wait till the last minute. Don't wait till you need him to use him, right? Because now you're
Right.
just calling out into the dark. You won't recognize his voice and he ain't recognizing yours.
Right.
And that's a dangerous place.
Very dangerous place. And you said too, it's like if you don't believe in him, I mean, even if you don't believe in the Christian faith or read the Bible, there's still some good stuff you can take from it.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. Or do some soul searching too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could change your life and maybe make you a believer.
Yeah. I mean, I deal with people all the time who are Catholics, obviously, but a lot who are not, a lot who are kind of as agnostic believers. I deal with a lot of people who are former believers, right? And then some occasionally who just don't believe in anything, right? But all of them are searching for the same thing,
Yeah.
right? All of them are searching for meaning. All of them are searching for peace. All of them are searching for happiness, right? I know where to find it, right? And I long to help people open their eyes to find that path too.
Right. Well, that's probably why you You picked the path you picked, brother.
Oh no, brother, it was picked for me.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yeah,
dive into
it
that.
was picked for me, and like it took me a while to accept it. It took me a while to understand that like following the path that God wants for me is going to make me far happier than the path that I tried to pick for myself. Um, I was a kid. I went to a Catholic high school, and while I was there, I began to realize um, the church is there to help people. The church is there to um, help them materially, in addition to spiritually, right? So I went to a school, and they would raise money from the high school kids to send off to the missions, right? So we were sending money to islands in the Pacific where these kids don't have the opportunity for education, or they don't even have food, they don't have clothing, they don't have like these simple things that we take for granted every day. So I was really attracted to this idea that we're helping these people, right? Here I am, just some goofy kid on the south side of Chicago, yet I can help someone across the world. And it
Yeah.
was the church who was facilitating that. So I really fell in love with that aspect of it. Um, I loved the liturgy, right? I loved the order to it. I loved the ritual to it. Um, I don't know. It's just kind of how my mind works. Like I like order. I like ritual. I like that this was all created by God through the church to help us direct ourselves and our hearts to something greater.
Yeah.
Right. So I really fell into that. It was actually April 19th, 1999, April 18th. It was April 18th, 1999. I met Cardinal George for the first time. I was a kid, right? And he came to my high school. We were celebrating the anniversary or the canonization of our founder.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, I got on this committee. I got on this crew to set up for mass and to take down for mass as an excuse to ditch school.
Yeah. As
Right.
any kid probably would do, right?
Like, yeah, so we'll set up the risers, we'll set up the sound systems, we'll set up all this stuff. I knew nothing. I still know nothing about technology, but I signed up because I thought nobody's going to know when we're supposed to be there and when we're not. So
Right.
I'm going to basically ditch school. And so I set up all the music or the sound system for the
Yeah.
music and the rest of it. And God only knows if it was done right. Somebody probably came in after and fixed it all. But I had this microphone, this wireless mic, and I was supposed to give it to the Cardinal George, in 1999. And it was just the two of us in the library, and we began to talk uh, uh, about faith, right? And, about the church. And, I mean, here's this the Cardinal Archbishop of Chicago. There was almost 3 million Catholics at that time. And it was just me and him, and 3 million Catholics in the archdiocese that he's in charge of, right? And here he is giving me all the time in the world. I'm a kid, right?
Yeah.
And he was curious. He was genuinely curious about how I was going to enrich my relationship with God. And that really turned me on to this idea that I have a responsibility in my relationship with God, right? I have a responsibility to dive deeper, to educate myself in addition to just what the school was teaching me, right? And frankly, I mean, it was just kind of the time, right? It was that era in the church where you're in school and you've got this big hardcover math book, right? It's very impressive looking.
Right.
You've got this big hardcover English book. You got this big hardcover calculus and science and all the rest of it. And then you got like this paperback coloring book garbage for a quote unquote theology text. And it's like, well, no wonder why people don't take their relationship with God seriously.
Right.
Just look at the aesthetics of the material that we're given. And again, I'm not blaming the school, and I'm not blaming really the church. Well, I should blame the church to a degree, right? That we should have elevated our education for young people to really take seriously the things of God. Um, but Cardinal George kind of put that into perspective for me. Like, hey, listen, you've got something to do here. You've got action, right? And in doing, right, I was strengthening, I was refining, I was doing what was necessary. Uh, it was awesome, right? So now, at the same time, there was a vocation director. They're the ones who are kind of the recruiters for priesthood. Uh, and he grabbed me and says, I think God has this plan for you. And I went to the college seminary. I was 17 years old. I turned 18 like a week and a half later or something like that. And I was young. was immature. I was immature even for a 17-year-old, right? Which is stunningly immature. Uh, but yet I knew God wanted something special. And yeah, that's how it kind of started.
Do you think that interaction with that cardinal kind of pushed you?
It changed my life.
Yeah.
It absolutely changed my life. I still go and visit him at All Saints Cemetery all the time.
Love it.
And, he was a holy man, right? He was a very, very holy man. And Cardinal George cared. I got thrown out of seminary
Brother.
at 20 years old. Well, I mean, I was asked not to come back, put it politely. I was 20, right? And I had matured a little, but not nearly enough, right? This is a very serious thing to discern the priesthood. And it takes certain gravitas, and it takes certain courage, and it also takes a lot of no's, right? And people say, oh, the Catholic Church always doesn't want you to do stuff. Listen, everybody doesn't want you to do stuff.
Right.
When you get married to a woman, she doesn't want you, in some tavern flirting with chicks all the time, right?
Right.
Every yes is a no to a lot else.
Yeah.
Right. And I did not understand that or appreciate that. And I also just wasn't taken serious. I mean, I'm a bright enough guy, but I wasn't taking my studies very seriously. Anyways, it was all kind of just.
You're still a young kid,
it was a
too.
mess.
Yeah.
I was down in booze like it was going out of style, right? Like there's an expiration date next week, and I got to get it all down. It was really bad.
I don't mind. There's something to be said about some of the South Side guys in Chicago can put down some booze. So it's like a traditional thing.
There's a priest friend of mine. His first assignment was down on the South Side.
Yeah.
And he says, man, he goes, I went down there. And he grew up on an Irish Catholic family in the north side of Chicago. I mean, kind of, active people in their social life. And he says, I went down to your neighborhood for my first assignment. And I looked at those people and the way they drank. And I said, whoa. And I looked at him and I says, hey, Father Ryan. I go, those people looked at me and went, whoa. So, I mean, I had a problem, right? But
Right.
I just thought, hey, look, I'm just a 20-year-old kid. Right?
Right.
So they asked me to leave. Gosh, maybe 5-6 months later, a priest died. A priest who I had known quite well. And I went to his funeral. It was very sad, very tragic. He was young, and he was a happy man. And Cardinal George celebrated the funeral mass.
Really?
And I tried to hide from him, right? Here's some kid who just got thrown out of seminary, and the Archbishop of Chicago, who's in charge of it all,
Oh, yeah.
he's standing there, and I'm like, ooh, gosh, let me hide from this guy. So there's like a receiving line for him, and I'm going the long way. And I'm keeping an eye on him so to make sure he doesn't notice me. And I see him say, excuse me a second, to the person he's talking to.
Oh, he saw you.
And he goes, hey, Brady, come here. I'm like, oh, man, here it comes, man. He says, I want you to go see my secretary, and you get a date to come meet me downtown.
Ooh.
And I thought, oh, my goodness. Oh, no, this is going to be bad. But you don't say no.
Oh, absolutely.
So I go, right? And I go, and I'm sitting in his office. At that time, it was on Superior Street. And, I mean, I'm sweating.
Oh,
like
yeah.
literally sweating it out. I'm thinking the Archbishop of Chicago is going to size me up for the guillotine. And we sit down in his big office, and here I am. I'm a 20-something-year-old kid. And he says, now that you're not in the seminary, how are you going to pray? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, you don't have people watching over you and teaching you how to do this. How are you going to maintain your relationship with our Lord? And then he says, well, what are you going to do with your studies? What are you going to study? And I remember this real distinctly. He says, I want to continue my education, I want to continue studying this, continue studying that. He says, well, what about science? I go, I'm not a big science guy. Oh, you can't be intelligent without science. And it was kind of a funny little challenge, right? To be a well-rounded man, right? But always to be a man of hope and to continue, to move forward, to persevere, right? I mean, it was incredible. Here's a guy who showed me real paternal care, right? And he loved me, right? Just like he loved every other person that was in his stead, right? He would have done that for anybody who he was afraid was going to move away from the faith, right? So he had the opportunity, and he took advantage of it, and he brought me in, and he says, listen, this is what you're going to need to do to support yourself without that ingrained system of the seminary. And it was encouraging, and I still remember that, and I still use it.
Yeah.
Because I deal with a lot of people who are in rough relationship with the church. And I need to let them know more than anything else how much God cares for them and how much God's church cares for them, so that they don't wander off into the distance or wander off into kind of some sort of spiritual oblivion,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not good for them. Um, it's not good for any of us, right? If we are all made in the image and likeness of God, and if we're all called to be part of this family as sons and daughters of God our Father, right? It's not good for any of us. We are poorer as a church. We are poorer as people of faith. We are poorer as a world when people live in despair. Right? We're richer when they look optimistically towards the world, right?
Agreed.
So, anyways, Cardinal George, I'll never forget the kindness that he showed me, and it was phenomenal. And so I finished my degree. I go off into work in the world, and I'm in and out of relationships. I'm in and out of jobs, right?
Where was your mindset at the time?
There was no real, you know, big picture, right? I was just kind of living to live, right?
Yeah.
Some people live paycheck to paycheck, right? I was living paycheck to paycheck and idea to idea.
Yeah.
There was no like progression of ideas of, oh, this is what my goal is, right? I wanted to make a decent amount of money. I wanted to live in the neighborhood. I wanted to get married and have, 3 kids. And I just wanted to be kind of happy, right?
Right.
And I didn't know how that was going to happen, right? But I was just going to kind of let it be, right? The only consistent thing in my life was overdoing it, right? Overdoing it, it you know, at the tavern, overdoing it at home, overdoing it everywhere when it came to drinking, right? So I would get into relationships and fall out of relationships because of it, right? You've seen The Simpsons, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You ever hear Homer Simpson say it was the cause of and solution to all my life's problems?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me, right? That resonated, right? So I eventually I got into this relationship with a woman who I loved, right? She was a beautiful woman, and I wanted to have that kind of Mayberry life with her. And listen, my drinking got in the way,
Yeah.
and it caused the absolute demise and collapse of that relationship, and it killed me, right? And I says I got to stop this, and I couldn't, right? I couldn't stop. I went to a doctor. I was in mortuary school at the same time. My whole life was just crazy at this time. I was 30 now, right? So I'm in mortuary school, and in mortuary school, you go to the Cook County Medical Examiner's office and you embalm the indigent. Someone dies on the street, they're not claimed, right? They're assigned a number. They're treated with extraordinary dignity. They're embalmed, cremated, and then um, they're put in a grave, right? So we would embalm them, and I remember clear as day. Uh, this Asian woman, she was probably 70 something years old, um, and she died. Nobody claimed her. She had no name. She had no family. She had no anything. She had nobody to love her and bring her home,
Yeah.
right? So that was our job to embalm this woman forgotten by the world. And I looked at her, right, and here she is, dies forgotten and alone, unclaimed. And my life was such a hot mess that I looked down on her, laying on this tray in this gurney at the medical examiner's office, and I was jealous of her. I was jealous of her. That's how bad my life had gotten. And she didn't have to live out on the streets anymore. She didn't have to have the headaches or the heartache, right? She didn't have to have the despair. She didn't have to have the fear of where my next meal is. She didn't have to have the fear of where am I going to find safety and protection. She didn't have to have any fear anymore.
Yeah.
And I was so wrapped up in fear. I was so wrapped up in anxiety that I looked down on this woman and I was jealous of her. And I thought, what has become of my life? And it was terrifying, but I was in absolutely no place to change the way that I was living my life. I was physically, emotionally, and spiritually incapable of making a change. So as somebody whose life is completely out of control, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I'm supposed to have all these these immunizations and shots and all this stuff to be working in the medical examiner's office. And they're like, hey, you didn't get any of this done. And of course, I knew I didn't. I just was going to figure it out as I was going along. And
Right.
what?
Right. Me?
I needed those done. I forgot. I mustn't have known. So, anyways, I go to the doctor and I say to him, hey, look, these are the shots I got to get. And, I'm finally like 6 months late doing what I'm supposed to do. And my life's falling apart. Relationships are falling apart. I was just a mess. And nurse comes in, takes my blood pressure. She goes, oh, my goodness. I kind of look at her funny. She goes, let me try the other arm. All right, so she tries the other arm. And she goes, I'm going to go get the doctor. Doctor comes in, takes the blood pressure again. He starts kind of like, banging on my chest and, hearing things around. He's taking the blood pressure again. He goes, are you under any stress? And you've seen The Shining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me, right? Like Jack Nicklaus, here's Johnny.
Yeah.
That was me. I kind of looked at this guy like my eyes were going to bulge out of my head, and I just kind of cackled at him. I'm like, no,
I'm completely fine.
yeah, I'm completely fine. Everything's normal. Everything's great, And do you drink at all? Yeah, socially.
Yeah.
Well, I must have been the most social son of a gun that ever was, right? Are you under stress? No. Do you drink? No. Just socially. And you lie through your teeth because you're
Right.
completely incapable of telling the truth because you're so afraid of it. And he says, I'm really afraid that you're going to have a heart attack. And I says, no, come on, Doc.
Not me.
I'm 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm good. And he's fighting me on it. He's like, no, listen, you have to go to the hospital. I was in like one of these mini clinic joints.
Yeah.
Right? He said, you got to go to the hospital. I'm fighting him on it. And finally he says, no, seriously, you've got to go. I'm afraid for you. And I says, you know what, just to get this guy off my back, I'll tell him, give me all the paperwork that I give to the doctors in the ER. That'll get me out of the office.
Yeah.
So, oh, thank goodness. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that you've agreed. Here are the papers. Here's what you got to do. Here's what they should test. Here's what they should do. Just follow what they say for your own benefit. It's okay, Doc. No problem. I walked out. I threw the papers out in the garbage can that were sitting in the parking lot. I threw them all out, and I went to the tavern.
Oh, brother.
4 days later, it all came tumbling down. It all crashed and burned, and I never had to drink again.
Really?
Yeah. So that was 30, right? That was 30. And 3 years later, I was back in the seminary, right? So it all happened so radically fast where it all fell apart and then it all came back together again. And kind of the golden thread that was woven through it all was God's faithfulness to me, even not when I was faithful to him. All right. And so what was my plan in life? I didn't have one. I was incapable of having a plan. Right? I was incapable of having some sort of linear dream. I had this kind of vision of what life was supposed to be like, but I didn't have the tools necessary to accomplish them.
Yeah.
Right. So it took a while to really hit rock bottom, but it was the best darn thing that ever happened to me. I thought March 20th was going to be the worst day of my life. And I would always remember this as the worst day of my life where I finally hit, hopelessness and brokenness and despair. Now it's the best darn day I've ever had, right? Because it's given me everything, right? I wouldn't be a priest today without my addiction to alcohol and hitting rock bottom. I wouldn't be happy the way that I am, right, if it wasn't for that addiction. It's like people who have lived in great darkness, they appreciate the light even more.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
A starving man appreciates, even the most simple meal after a long period without, right? I lived a long, long period without anything, when it comes to goodness or hope. And here I get to live it, right? And I'm very privileged to live 2 lives in one lifetime. So I need to share that with people. And I think God persevered and called me to the priesthood so that I could share that message with others. There were 2 great and holy men that helped me understand that were priests. Helped me understand, how my problems in my own personal life that have brought me to the priesthood, how my own problems in my personal and spiritual life brought me to this place for the benefit of others, right? It's a gift to be shared, right? And, I still, actually, one of them is buried at All Saints, real close to Cardinal George. So I visited the two of them together.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I think about these guys all the time. Kind of these mountains of virtue, right, and perseverance that I'm so privileged to just stand next to in awe and look up at them and say, if I could be half the man or half the priest these guys were, it'll be for the benefit of a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I end up, sobering up, putting my life back together little by little. And
Real quick, what did rock bottom look like for you?
oh my goodness. So I was in trouble with everybody, the only people who were left were my family, right? My mom and dad, and my brothers kind of were on the periphery. Everybody else who could have fled, and I don't necessarily blame them, right?
Yeah.
Even people who loved me and who cared for me, they couldn't sit back and watch me self-destruct, right? It was horrible, right? I got in trouble with family, with friends. I got in trouble with the law. I got in trouble with employers, right? I mean, I was at this point where I was unemployed and unemployable,
Yeah, that's not a good spot to be
it's
in.
it's a bad spot to be in, right? Because I was unreliable. Even when I was there, was I?
Right.
I really wasn't. I was going through mortuary school, but I was only there half the time, right? And even when I was there, my mind was just consumed with doubt and fear and like these incredible feelings of unworthiness. I'm not worthy of this opportunity. I'm not worthy of my friends. I'm not worthy of my families. And you can only think that way so much before they're just gone, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was really, really bad. And like I said, I got in trouble with family. I got in trouble with the law. I got in trouble with people in the community. I got in trouble with everything, right? Nobody wanted me around because I wasn't who I once was.
Right.
I was always a good guy. I was always a friend, and I was always, accountable. But like, there's just this darkness that casts a pall over somebody, and it's just sad to watch.
There's
Right.
a lot of people that deal with that
Oh,
self-doubt and
yeah.
fear and all those are negative emotions.
Yeah, and it consumes you, right?
Right.
It ties you down, and it tells you the lie that there's no way out of it.
And that's why I think a lot of people take their own lives
Oh yeah, 100%.
because they feel like there's no way out,
Right.
And a lot of people,
And that's the way out.
yeah,
It's the only way out. It's the last way out for them. And it's
yeah.
just it's a lie that the addiction has told you. It's a lie that the darkness has told you. It's a lie
Right.
that the evil one has told you.
Right.
Right. But all in all, it's still just a lie.
Exactly. And that's what people need to kind of come to their senses and realize that you can break the cycle.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I was afraid to live and I was afraid to die. And I was paralyzed in that place. And thanks be to God I was, because there's a lot of people who are just afraid to live.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have this place, right? I have this vocation. I have this gift that God has given me to be able to help share with people that there's a better way, right? And recovery is possible. Help is possible. Happiness is possible again. So I thought to myself, I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with my life, right? As a priest in the role of somebody who's lived this kind of darkness. And it was the night before Thanksgiving. I was a priest. Let's see, I was ordained in May. Thanksgiving's 6 months later, right? And the most important thing I'll ever do as a priest is to celebrate Mass. Right? It's the most important thing we'll ever do. And you could say Mass for different intentions, right? For someone who has died, for peace. You can say Mass for, the Pope. You could say Mass for family. You could say Mass for people who are suffering from cancer or whatever, right? So it's the night before Thanksgiving. I'm 6 months a priest. It's like 6 o'clock at night. I don't drink anymore, right? I'm still kind of a fun guy to be around.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't even like amateur night, when I was drinking, let alone I'm not drinking. I'm a priest, and it's the night before Thanksgiving. I sure as hell am not going out.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So I'm sitting at home, and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? And I thought to myself, you know what? There are a lot of people out there suffering from addiction tonight. And there's a lot of people who are really drowning, quite literally, in addiction. I'm going to say Mass for those people. So the Missal is the big book that we use to celebrate Mass on the altar. And in the back, there's some for special intentions. And I kind of modified one in my mind for people who suffer from addiction. And I have this dark church, right? It's 7, 8 o'clock at night. So on the night before Thanksgiving, it's dark. And I just put one light on over the altar. That's all I needed. I was the only guy in the church. And I was going to celebrate Mass. And I thought to myself, you know what? People should know. So I stepped back and I took a picture of the light only over the altar, completely surrounded by darkness, with the chalice, the Missal, and I put that message out there. A lot of people out there suffering from addiction and hopelessness and despair, and they're drowning it in booze tonight. You know, I'm offering Mass for those people tonight. Hundreds and hundreds of people responded to me on social media. And this is before anybody even knew who the hell I was, right? A lot of people still don't. If you know better, you don't know who I am. But I barely knew anybody. I was a brand new priest, right? And hundreds of people were reaching out to me, and a lot of them public, but a lot more private.
Yeah.
Hey, and these are people who, you know, you think they got perfect lives, and they would text me and say, look, my dad suffers from addiction. My grandfather suffers from addiction, and it haunts my mother to this day. Right?
Yeah.
My son is suffering from addiction. My daughter is suffering from addiction. It means the world to me that you've done this. People that I knew from grade school that I hadn't seen or heard from in years, right, are reaching out to me. And I says, you know what, I should do this publicly. So every year since then, we've done that, right? We celebrated Mass for people who suffer from addiction the night before Thanksgiving, right? And it's for people who suffer from addiction, right? But let me tell you something. If you're suffering from addiction the night before Thanksgiving, you're not going to church.
Yeah.
Right? They're out there, right? But they know someone's praying for them. But it also gives a place for those innocent bystanders, right? The most painful conversations I have to this day are with mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, children of people who suffer from addiction. And they're like, what can you do, and what can I do to help cure this? And the answer is nothing, really, right? They have to want it, right? So I tell them to pray for the willingness. Pray that your son, pray that your husband, pray that your wife, pray that your daughter, pray that your mom, pray that your dad, pray that they become willing to get the help that they need, and pray for a soft landing at rock bottom.
Yeah. Because sometimes rock bottom's not soft, brother.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's hard.
It is.
So they're powerless, and they're at times hopeless. So I wanted to give them power, and I wanted to give them hope, right? And where do we get power and hope that comes from something greater than we could ever have on our own? It's in prayer, right? It's in faith. So we celebrate that Mass, and we've had hundreds. We had 300 people just about every year since then come to that Mass. And they are people who have suffered from addiction and recovered. They are from people who feel powerless over their family's addiction, right? You give them agency. You can do something about this, right? And you could tell your son or your daughter or whoever it is, you could tell them that, look, I'm praying for this. I'm praying for you to get better. I'm praying for you to get well. And hundreds of people were doing it too, right? And I mentioned it online. We've shared it across the Archdiocese before. And, you know, I mean, word's out there. People are praying for those who suffer from addiction.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, it's also true for people who suffer from, you know, anxiety, emotional difficulties, right? A lot of times we self-medicate through drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're trapped, right? So it's for those people too, right? To prevent addiction before it becomes
The addiction.
what it is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump right back into it. It's getting good.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, guys, this episode is brought to you by Murphy Carter Law. This one, I'm proud to announce, this is a great partnership with us. They are a phenomenal law firm. I've known Rick for a very long time. He's a fantastic guy. Heart of gold. He supports organizations like Project Fire Buddies who give back to kids with terminal illness. This guy cares. He is a staunch advocate for first responders. He's just a blue-collar guy. He really is. He was a union construction worker at one point, and now he's just a shark in the courtroom. And that's just a fact. You're not going to go wrong by going with Murphy Carter Law. I promise you that. They will fight for you like they fight for their own family, like they fight for their mother, like they fight for their father, their brother, or their sister. That's just who they are. And they advocate for you guys. I promise they will fight for you guys tooth and nail. That's what they're all about, to make you guys whole again, or to get you close to that as possible and by any means necessary. They've won major cases already. I have some notes over here. They have $11.5 million truck accident case. They have a $9.5 million medical malpractice case and another $7.1 million delivery truck accident. They handle their business. If you're looking for a lawyer, if you've been in a situation like Carrie and I have, Murphy Carter Law, check them out. Go to murphycarterlaw.com. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Tell them that Beyond the Dispatch sent you. Before break, I did want to touch on the subject of how did you get back into the path to priesthood? Was there a particular moment?
Yeah. So once I quit drinking, I knew I needed to put my life back together. I didn't know how, right? And I partnered up with a whole crew of guys that drank like I did and now live happy.
Yeah.
Right? I found it physically impossible to smile and to laugh, right? And I met a bunch of guys who were smiling and laughing, and they're like, "Oh, follow us. We'll teach you." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Right.
you haven't been through what I've been through, right?" Well, that's just pride and ego, right? Because the more and more I talk to these guys, the more and more I realized, yeah, you actually have been through what I've been through, right? And you're happy and you're joyous and you're free and you're smiling and you're laughing, and eventually they put all that back in line for me.
Yeah.
They taught me how to be a man again and to be happy again, and that was great, right? And all the relationships that needed to be repaired were beginning to be repaired. A lot of them just fell away completely and never came back.
Right.
I met a guy. This is a great story, right? So I'm in the bar, and I leave one night, and I never come back. And there was a guy I would drink in there with, like 3 nights a week
Yeah.
for years.
So you guys became buddies.
Yeah. And one day I leave, and I'd never come back. He never called me, never texted me, never was like, "Hey, what the hell are you
Yeah. Where
alive?"
you at?
Right? So I become a priest. I've disappeared for like 8 years now. I become a priest. A guy calls me out of the blue and goes, "Hey, my mom died. Can you celebrate her funeral?" So I says, "Yeah, I celebrate the funeral." This guy from the bar is a pallbearer.
No.
Yeah. And we're standing there over the mother's casket at the cemetery, and he walks over. He goes, "Geez, man, I haven't seen you in, what, 8, 9 months?" I go, "Bill, are you kidding me? We haven't seen each other in 9 years."
Oh, dude.
Like, that's how vacuous that type of lifestyle was for me.
Yeah.
Where it's a thief, right? Where this guy didn't even realize years have passed by, and it was sad, right? So that's what I was escaping, and I was running to people who have put together some beautiful and productive lives, and I was.
Yeah.
I go back to the job that I was at before. I wasn't happy, right? But my bosses gave me a break, man. They gave me a deal, and one of them was like a mentor of mine since I was a kid. He owned this company. He gave me a job when I needed it, and supported me. He pulled me in his office after I was piecing my life back together. I really wanted to get back together with this woman, and I really had this dream of building this family still. And now I've got all the things necessary to be the man that I was supposed to be for her and for me, and it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, what the hell? And he sat me down and began to talk to me about his life. And it wasn't addiction. It wasn't any of that, but there was a lot of heartache, right? And he had a very hard life growing up, and him and I had a heart to heart. And he let me know everything's gonna be okay. And I couldn't tell you what he said, specifically and exactly, but he let me know everything was gonna be okay. He opened his heart to me, and this is a guy I idolized.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to play baseball. He taught me how to be a man by teaching me baseball. He taught me integrity. He taught me effort. He taught me all this stuff, right? And now here he is, like we're sitting there crying across the table from each other in his office because he's being vulnerable to me, and he partnered me up with a guy who helped me put my life back together, and he just let me know everything's gonna be okay. right? And I believed him.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Oh my gosh, I still I preach about baseball a lot, right? And I implement lessons taught to me by my coach, by that man, all the time, right? So, I you know, I was working there, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't my place, right? It wasn't where God wanted me to be. I didn't know where the hell I was supposed to be or where I was going, but I I ended up getting a job at Catholic Charities, right? Um, and I was in sales for a long time, and this thing came about where there was an opening, and a guy recommended me for it, and they called me about it, and they says, "We want you to be in fundraising." I said, "I've never been in nonprofit fundraising.
Right.
I've never done it before." They go, "Listen, you can do it." And I said, I don't know. I haven't even been on a job interview forever. I'm very insecure, right? Because I've
Right.
gotten in so much trouble. I've gotten, kind of, uh, I've gotten this real kind of shallowness about my own confidence, right? So I'm like, I don't know if I could do a job interview. And they're like, "Listen, this is your interview, right? Do you want the job? We want you." And eventually I started working at Catholic Charities downtown Chicago. And what got me was they said, I've never been in nonprofit. I've been in sales. And they're like, "What you're doing is selling the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. What you're doing is selling people the opportunity to serve the lowest amongst us.
Right.
You're giving people the opportunity to be our Lord's hands and feet to others." He goes, "What's so hard about that?"
Right.
I was like, "Well, I guess you're right."
Yeah, when you put it like that.
Yeah. So now I'm back kind of where I was when I was 17 years old, right? Now I'm in this place where I'm like, I'm surrounded by a church that I can see is mission driven. I'm surrounded by a church that I see makes positive impacts and effects on people's life. I'm seeing I'm surrounded by a church, and I'm seeing the church build me up into the man I'm called to be. And I get there, and uh, my office is where it's at. And if you step out and you make 5 paces is all 5 steps to a door. You open the door, you step out, you're in the choir loft of the chapel.
Oh, okay.
So the offices were built. It was built in 1917 as an orphanage,
Okay.
and there was a convent there in this orphanage. You ever see the movie with Sally Field, and she's a nun with the big giant, like,
Sister Patrol.
there we go.
He
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah. You looked at me like, I got nothing.
Not on me,
Sally
bro.
who, right? Well, these nuns had this big giant habit, right? And the habit is the thing that they wear on their head, and it was heavily starched. And those were the nuns that were there. And they raised tens of thousands of children there. And I love history. History's my thing, right?
Oh, same.
So now I'm in this place with such incredible history, but also such incredible heart.
Yeah.
And I step outside my office, and there's the chapel, right? Mass starts at 8 a.m. I'm supposed to start at 8 a.m. And I would start to show up early, and I'd sit in the chapel, and my boss is like, "Listen, if you want to go to daily mass, go. Like, just come at 8:30, right?" So that's what I would start to do. And I'm in church every morning praying, right? And I'm a 31, 32, 33-year-old guy at mass every day. You're kind of raising eyebrows,
Yeah.
right? But there were people there, right? And there were some young people there, because the mission of Catholic Charities was to serve the poor, to serve the people around us, not because of who they are, but because of who Christ calls us to be.
Right.
So we're all mission driven, and we're there. But now I'm daydreaming about like what I would preach about. I'm daydreaming about the saint whose feast day it is, and I'm like, this is just weird, man. Right? I'm piecing my life back together. I'm back working for the church 5 days a week at Catholic Charities. The other night a week, I'm working at Holy Name Cathedral, and I love it. I am absolutely in love with it. I live in the city. My go-to for like downtime to turn the brain off and to just chill out is to walk through the zoo,
Yeah.
right? Not only do you get to see like God's creation and the animals and what have you, but it's just peaceful. You
Yeah.
know, there's families there that are just enjoying themselves, and I mean, it's a very peaceful place. So I'm living right next to the zoo. I go to the zoo, and I wander through the park, and I love this city, right? And I'm wandering through the city all the time. I'm working at charities. I'm working at the cathedral. I mean, I'm in my element. I'm exactly where God has called me to be. I'm exactly where God wants me to be. I finally found it. I finally found this peace of heart. I finally found this mission. I finally found exactly what God wants me to do. And then it hits the fan again, right? I'm daydreaming about what I'll preach about. I'm getting people telling me, "Oh, you should be a priest. You should be a priest." Well, listen, I, I I have more problems than you can count on, right? I got more baggage than a department store, right? I got more skeletons, in my closet than you. I would scandalize you people if you knew what I went through in my life, right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself.
Right.
Self doubt, right? It's
Yeah.
still creeping in. So I got a priest friend of mine's like, "Yeah, you're called to be a priest, dude." I'm like, no, I'm good. That happened before.
I went down that road.
Yeah, I went down that road. They asked me to leave, right? So I says to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go meet the vocation director, the new guy, right? And I'm going to tell him all the bad stuff that's ever happened in my life, whether it's through my fault or through someone else's fault or whatever, right? I'm going to shit all over myself in this conversation,
Yeah.
right? So that he's like, wow, dude,
You shouldn't be.
you shouldn't be, right? So I start telling him, I drank myself out of seminary, I drank myself out of every job and relationship that I'd ever been in. And he's like, okay, all right. He goes, and you got sober, right? I go, yeah. He goes, what's happened since? And I began to talk to him about it, right? And I gave him a blow by blow of all the worst things that have ever happened in my life. And I was being deliberate to make it, just
self-sabotage, right?
just
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah.
right? And when it was all over with, we were at this restaurant. It's no longer there. It's right around the corner on Pearson Street, downtown, and next to the Ghirardelli.
Okay.
We should have went to Ghirardelli.
Oh.
But so we're sitting there, and he sits across the table, and he kind of sighs, and he goes, "Wow." He says, I heard a lot there. He says, "There's a lot there." He says, "But I haven't heard anything that would keep you from being a priest." He says, "But I heard a whole lot that'll make you a better one."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh. I was hoping this guy would be like, "Yeah, you're good.
You're
dude.
right, dude.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Thanks for coming. You're a scumbag. Pound sand," right?
Right.
Because I was afraid.
Yeah, 100%.
I was afraid. What about my dream of getting married and having all these kids? And, I said, well, what if I get married and have a kid and have that kid be a priest?
Yeah.
I'm bartering now. I'm negotiating in a completely different way, right? I'm negotiating good for better with God as opposed to like misery to give me a little less misery, God.
Right.
If I don't drink
Just a touch.
today, give me a deal on this, right? So I'm in this place where all of a sudden even the church is like, yeah, you're good, dude. This is what God calls you to do. And, at this point, I'm still making amends to people from, trying to mend fences and repair bridges and really let people know that I'm taking accountability for the bad stuff that I've done in my life and harmed people and what have you. So I go and I speak to the guy who threw me out of seminary, who's now the second in charge of the archdiocese.
Oh, perfect.
He was the vicar general, and I'm like, oh, this is going to go so poorly. But nobody knows that I'm discerning priesthood again. And I sit down with him, and I said to him, well, first, it's not easy to get a meeting with him.
Right.
I'm just some guy who works at Catholic Charities. But I saw him at events, and he was very kind and very cordial and just happy. He's like, how are you? And I said, I'm great. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't have to lie to people when I told them I was great.
Right. How liberating was that?
Oh, it's amazing. It is so amazing. It's like breathing real air.
Yep.
Right? So he says he took the meeting because he realized something was up. Something's up. Something's going on here, right? So he took the meeting, and we sat down, and I began to explain to him how sorry I was for the way I treated him and the way I acted in the seminary. And I says, I know I was an immature college student, but I was way immature for a college student, right?
Right.
And I hurt you, and I hurt others, and I hurt the church by it. And we were talking, and he said to me, of course, I'm just happy for you. I'm happy that you're living this way. I'm happy that you have this new perspective on life. I'm happy that you have a second chance. And then he said, do you ever think that God's still calling you to be a priest? And I was like,
Dude.
oh, man, right? And, so, this stuff just keeps adding up. And he says, he goes, if you are, I'll write a letter of recommendation for you. That guy's now the Archbishop of New York.
No shit.
Yeah. he's the new Archbishop of New York. He's a good and holy man. He's a very holy man. So I'm very happy for the people of New York. Um, and yeah, I mean, the guy, he believed in me, right? And here's the thing, people believe in me again.
Yeah.
It was awesome. People believed in me again. You start piecing your life back together. People believe in you. Everybody wants to give you a second chance.
Yep.
Everybody wants to give you a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh chance, right? As long as you're putting forth the effort to improve your life, people will give you all the chances that you need.
Yeah.
If you keep self-sabotaging, right?
Right.
Then they just got to cut you loose.
100%.
So, I get these letters of recommendation. I go to apply to the seminary. I'm sweating it out, brother.
Oh, dude, I bet.
You got to go through these board examinations, and you're sitting before like a firing squad, and I'm like
Sweating.
yeah, like, well, I'm not your typical candidate, but everybody was so supportive, and everybody saw what these other guys have seen, right?
Yeah.
These difficulties in your life can be a benefit to your priesthood, not a hindrance, and it went well. And I go to the seminary. I listen, man. I last time I was in school, was 13 years before that. So I show up to seminary with like a mountain of spiral notebooks.
Right.
And I write the class with magic marker on the cover of every one, and now I'm ready to go, right? So I show up to class with this, 4 classes in a row. So we got this mountain of binders, and everybody looks at me like,
what is this guy doing?
what are you doing, old timer? Like, they all pull out their laptops, and I said, man, we weren't allowed to have laptops last time I was in school. I've never felt so old in my life, right?
Right.
So, it was tough to be a student,
Yeah.
right? It was tough to be a student,
Especially
again.
being out of it for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're getting master's degrees, multiple master's degrees at once in the seminary, right? So, I had a professor tell me, he goes, you haven't been at this for a long time. He goes, take your time. If you need to retake a test, retake the test. If you need some assistance, a little bit of extra time writing papers, he goes, we'll give it to you.
Nice.
Everybody's here to watch you succeed. This isn't like college where if you just suck, you're out. Right?
Right.
He says everybody wants you to thrive. Everybody wants you to succeed. Everybody wants you to be holy. Everybody wants you to achieve what God wants you to achieve. We're in this together. And the pressure was off, man. And then I felt great.
Yeah.
So, I was in seminary for a few years. I'm ordained a transitional deacon for a year, and then ordained a priest. And right before the priesthood ordination, a classmate of mine who's a lifer, right? He goes into seminary right out of high school, and he's about to be ordained. He never left, right? He 17 till 27 or whatever when he was ordained. And he says, when I received my first Holy Communion, I was walking back to the pew, and I heard God tell me, you're going to be a priest. He says, when did that happen for you? I go, man, it ain't happened yet, but I don't think it's coming. And he looked at me like, what, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Like, how, you don't know that you didn't hear God tell you? And I says, no. He goes, well, how did you end up here? I said, I don't know. He goes, well, how are you going to be ordained a priest if God never told you? I go, I'm here for a reason, aren't I?
Yeah.
Right? Listen, if you're going the direction that God wants you to be, the obstacles will fall out of the way. Right? If you're going in a direction that God does not want you to be in, it's tough.
Yeah.
Right? If you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, if you find roadblocks in your way all the time, it's probably because God doesn't want you in that direction. Right? But if you find, and it doesn't mean that it's easy, right? It doesn't mean that it's easy at all. But if you find happiness and peace in the direction that you're going, keep going.
Yeah.
Right? God wants you in that path. And then there'll be stuff in the way because the evil one doesn't want you to be happy, and he doesn't want you to be holy, and he's going to throw stuff in your way, right? But keep going, right? We had a professor at the seminary who says, listen, nobody's driving. It was up in Mundelein. He goes, nobody's driving down Route 176 and says, hey, I wonder what's going on down that road. I'm just going to pack some bags and move in.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're here.
Yep.
God wants you here, right? And I knew that. I moved out of my apartment in Lincoln Park, and I remember looking at this apartment that I loved in a neighborhood that I loved in a city that I loved. And I'm looking at this empty apartment. I look out the window. I could see the skyline, and I just thought, what the hell have you just done? Are you out of your mind? You're going to go to the seminary? You're going to throw all this away? And I moved into the seminary in a suite, in an apartment, in a room that was a fraction of the size of the apartment I just moved out of. And I'm looking at all these boxes in this room, and I thought, what have you just done? What have you just done? And then I began to unpack. I began to meet the guys. I began to go to the chapel. I began to pray. I began to go to school. I began to go to classes. I began to be in parishes. And I found out what I had just done, right? I took a leap, right? A well-educated jump, right? I believed in what God put into my heart. And every day's been great ever since,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not like it's perfect. I've had horrible days. I've had very, very difficult days. I have days that I wish I'd never have to go through again, right? But listen, even the challenges and the difficulties that have been thrown my way have been utilized for the good,
Yeah.
right? And so that's how you know you're in the path that God wants you to be in, right? Even the challenges that are overcome contribute to the good, right? So it's been phenomenal ever since, right? And guys are like, well, where do you want to be assigned when you're a priest? I'll go wherever you want me to go, right? The Archdiocese of Chicago, the seminary, they've been watching me. I see the reflection in the mirror. They see the 360-degree angle. They are deliberate in watching me. They know where I'm strong. They know where I'm weak. Let them send me where to go,
Yeah.
right? Let them tell me you're going to go here. It's part of obedience, but it's also part of trust, right? Trusting God, right? And I made a promise, and I've heard some priests say this, and he said, I've never asked for an assignment. I've never turned one down. And I've also never been disappointed. So when they said, well, where do you want to go? I said, send me where you need me and where you think I can do the best.
Yeah.
And I went to my first assignment. I was there for 3 years. And an opening came about in the Arch. And I thought, man, that would be perfect for me. It's my home parish. I know these people. And they're kind of reeling a little bit, right? And boy, I could make a great impact, and I could do it fast. I know I can. I can get them to buy in. I can get them to pray again. I could rally the troops, right? I don't know. Like I'm not going to ask for it. I'm not going to deny an assignment. Well, word on the street was, hey, would you be interested? And I says, in a heartbeat, right? I'd be interested in a heartbeat. And I ended up getting that assignment, and I've been there. It'll be 2 years in July, and it's been phenomenal, right? It's been absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I have a heart for first responders growing up in that neighborhood, and Enrique Martinez, Chicago police officer, was killed in the line of duty shortly after I started my assignment. The police chaplain was out of town. I called his assistant, Deacon Bob Montalongo, great guy, awesome dude. And I says, hey, do you guys need anything? I always wanted to stand with first responders in situations like this because they needed to know that God loved them and the church was there for them, right? I've been in far too many hospital rooms surrounded by police and firemen and emergency rooms and trauma bays. And I seen the looks in their eyes, and I seen the look in their faces, and it was of despair.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't despair, it was pretty damn close. And they needed to know that God was present, and they needed to know that God loved them, and that's why I went.
Yeah.
Right. But police chaplain Father Dan Brandt, great dude, right? He was out of town when this tragedy happened, and he goes, "Can you come?" His assistant, Deacon Bob. So I came and I went, and it was pouring rain, University of Chicago in Hyde Park, and I'm running into the trauma bay, and there's cops everywhere, man. And they're all looking at me. I chuckle because you're like the Grim Reaper as a priest when you walk into the hospital.
Right.
Everybody kind of looks at you like, oh, thank God he's here, but stay the hell away from me.
Right.
That was kind of the look I was getting from these guys. Like, they're so grateful I was there for Enrique and for the family.
Yeah.
Right. But, it was a sad, sad, horrible thing. But here I am. I was there for my parishioners. The detective that was on that case was my parishioner. She's got 2 kids in my school. Another detective was there who was a parishioner of mine, right? I saw all these cops that were parishioners of mine. And in an incident like that, there's a lot of standing around, right? And I was able to chat with my parishioners, my family, right? I was able to chat with the fire department personnel who were there, who were my parishioners, my family, right? And while I was there, Annette Nance Holt, the Chicago Fire Commissioner, was standing there, and I've seen her at different things and events and whatever. I try to support first responders, and she says, "Hey, we want you to help us." And I was like, "Oh, listen, I just got a job.
Right.
I just got a brand new job. The fire chaplain historically was always a full-time position."
Yeah.
And I says, I can't help you. I said, I would love to. I says, but our assignments come from the cardinal.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that. And her chief of staff pull out their phone, and they're showing me these email exchanges back and forth. Like, we want him on our team. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I says, listen, if you guys are building a team of chaplains, I'll be a part of it, but I got to stay in my parish, right? I'd be honored to serve those who serve us, right? Um, those who serve and protect the police department and those who are there when we need them, the fire department. I would be honored to serve all of you or any of you, right? So that was November. I get a phone call again sometime in December from community relations guy from the fire department. He's like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, bro, you're barking up the wrong tree, man. I have no authority, no power, no nothing. All I can say is do with me what you will.
Yeah.
So he calls me back a little bit later and he says, you're going to be getting a phone call. The archdiocese called me. They go, you want this? And I says, yeah, I'd love to be a part of this team. And he says, okay, I just want to make sure, it's going to be in addition to.
Right.
Says, yeah, no, I got it. Right. And eventually it all kind of panned out where it's me and another priest. There's a rabbi who has been police chaplain, fire chaplain, FBI chaplain. Rabbi Moshe's been the chaplain for everybody since Moses wore short pants. I mean, the guy's been around forever. But he's a great guy. He's a holy man, right? So I've been able to serve as the chaplain for the Chicago Fire Department, in addition to my duties as priest and pastor of St. Christina Parish, almost simultaneously since I started there, right? All because I just didn't get in my own way.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't get in my own way. I didn't push my own will. It just let God do what he wants with you.
If it's meant to be, it will be.
Right. So just like in the seminary, like, how did you get here? Man, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know it's right. Right. How did you end up becoming the fire chaplain? Well, I don't know. Was it because the police chaplain was on vacation? Right. And I had to show up, or I did show up to help in a moment of need. I don't know how the hell it happened, but it happened. And man, is it awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Right. And, I love both my duties as a priest in my community and as a pastor in my community. I love being the priest and the chaplain for the fire department. I pinch myself off and saying, Lord, look what you let me do.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Touch so many lives.
Yeah, that's kind of, I just kind of show up and do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. That's just the byproduct of that, brother.
and people are like, oh, thanks for doing this and doing that. And I'm like, look, I'm just doing what God gives me the privilege to do, right?
Right.
I get kind of uncomfortable and kind of like
accepting compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do as well, but it's something that I've been working on of just be like, you know what? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's because it makes me super uncomfortable too. Like someone's saying, oh, thank you for this or thank you for that. And I'm just like, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Right.
But there's so many people out in this world that don't do these things. So that's something you got to take into consideration as well. But something I wanted to touch on was I appreciate you becoming the chaplain for Chicago Fire, because like I've been hurt in the line of duty to the fact like they didn't know what was going to happen. Mm-hmm. And my family at the church, at the hospital, did they have a pastor come and talk to you guys? Mm-hmm. I mean, did that put you guys at ease? I mean, that I know it probably did for Mom for sure.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, from my heart, from my family, we appreciate you guys who dedicate your lives for first responders, or a portion of your life to first responders.
It's a real privilege to be able to serve those who serve us, right? And sometimes that may seem kind of cliche, right? It seems like a tagline, but it's so true.
It's so true.
Like, listen, if I was not the fire chaplain, I would want to drive to the scene and help somebody anyways, right?
Right.
If this wasn't my job, quote unquote, it would be something that I would long to do because I think God has given me the gifts and the talents to do it.
Yeah.
Right. I remember baptizing a baby in the middle of the night in the hospital, knowing that this child would not survive, running through the hospital in the middle of the night in these darkened hallways all by myself going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. How the hell am I going to do this? I don't want to do this. How the hell am I going to do this? And when you get there and you do it and the comfort you've brought to that family, right? And they're in tears and you're in tears and you walk away, you're like, wow, God, how present were you even in the midst of that most horrific tragedy, right? And I walked away and I thought, that's what God calls me to do. Yep. So you just do it, right? Just and whether it's that family or a fire department family or a police department family who's going through their worst nightmares, right? You just show up, right? And we had a fire chaplain who did this before me. He did it for, what did he say, 34 years or something like that, right? Father Tom Mulcrone, guy's like a legend. And I I get the job and I said, well, what am I supposed to do? What tips you got? He goes, just show up. I go, okay, great. I'll just show up. What else? No, that's it. Show up. And it'll all work itself out. And I thought, well, I don't know if that's enough, right? That's literally
The bare
just
minimum.
show up. That's 3 words on
Yeah.
my job description, right? You got to have more. And that's it. You just show up. And everything will take care of itself the way that it's supposed to take care of after that. I've been in the hospital for firemen who've been in some real serious injuries, and for some who have died. And I've sat in the room with the family thinking, what the hell am I going to say? They don't want me to say anything. They just want you to be there.
Yep.
Right? And they just want you to pray. And listen, we just had a horrific tragedy in the Chicago Fire Department last month. And I just showed up and I felt like I didn't do anything. Or whatever I did do was just so minuscule. And the family's like, thank you for this, thank you for that. And I'm like, oh, you're welcome. I just feel like I was taking up space. But I think as a chaplain or as a priest or as a chaplain and a priest, you can help lift people's hearts above the despair. You can help lift people's hearts above to the promises that God our Father has for each and every one of us. You can help lift people's hearts above even just a fraction above like hopelessness.
Yeah.
And even just that little fraction, that little sliver of light in the midst of an incredible darkness, I think gives them incredible peace, right? And we were there with some of the most secular, quote-unquote, people, right? People from the city of Chicago, people from government, people from other places, and you hear like this separation of church and state stuff and all the rest of it. And what do they say when they're there? Father, why don't you lead us all in prayer?
Yeah.
Right? When it hits the fan, people want to pray.
Yeah.
Right? And the family was comforted by it. And the families are comforted by it. And
Sometimes that's all they need.
yeah. Yeah. And God is present. God is always present. And that reminder, I think, is a real balm to an open wound. Right? And, the fact of the matter is it's not just in those moments. It's throughout that the chaplain will be a part of their lives. I see how my predecessor, who had done this for 3 decades plus, I see how he's an intimate part of the lives of people, even now, decades later, right? When he just was with them and walked with them and held their hand or hugged them in those horrible and horrific moments, and it's just what we do, right? It's just what we do, and I've told these families this before. It's my privilege to be here. These are your intimate moments as a family, and it's my privilege to be here with you and to pray with you and to try and help point our hearts to things that are above. And sometimes you'll say a prayer, and when it's over, you think, well, where the hell did that come from? Right? Well, it came from God.
Yeah.
Right? God puts into your heart, your soul, your mouth, sometimes literally, the words that need to be said. Right? And, I've sometimes said things that probably nobody ever heard, but just knowing in that room, they may not have heard it as I prayed because they're so overwhelmed, but at least they know someone's praying, and
Yeah.
it might be more than what they're capable of in the moment.
Right.
And everybody grieves differently. Everybody grieves at various levels at all different times, right? Some people grieve as a spouse, some as parents, or some as children. All of the firemen or the policemen or whatever are grieving for their brother or for their sister who's wounded or hurt, right? Some people are just grieving as a citizen of our city that somebody who selflessly serves them is hurt, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's grieving in a different way, right? And the one thing that draws them all together and lifts them all up is faith,
Yeah.
is prayer, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be one specific prayer or one specific faith or one specific whatever, right? It's just the idea that someone or something greater is with us.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, being the chaplain for CFD, is there a moment that sticks out to you the most, or a few moments? I know it's a pretty broad question.
From the incredibly deep to the incredibly absurd.
Right.
My favorite moments are just sitting around BSing with the guys.
Oh, isn't it the best?
It's so awesome, right? Like, I mean, I've walked into the firehouse and introduced myself to a group of guys, and we'll sit down for dinner, and I'm not even there 5 minutes, and I'm fair game.
Oh yeah, nothing's off the table.
And I was like, oh, okay, you guys want to play that, huh? But now I feel like I'm part of the team, right?
Right.
There was a long time where I became fire chaplain, and I felt almost embarrassed to put on the gear. I felt embarrassed to like wear the jackets. I felt embarrassed. I'm like, man, I didn't go through the academy with these guys. I haven't run into a burning building and saved someone's life. I've never even held a friggin' hose in my hand, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't belong, right? But very quickly, they let me belong, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and now I'm on the fire scene and I'm trying to pull hose, and they're like, hey, chaplain, father, get the hell out of the way.
Listen, if you're not getting your balls busted, they don't like you.
Yeah, right? Like I'm trying to help out and stuff, and they're like, listen,
Let us take it from here.
yeah, get out of the way. But it's awesome, right? To be part of the team. To be
It's all
part
right.
of the family.
They say the same thing to us too when we try to help out on fire calls.
yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So like I'll tell you a great incident, right? And this is it's a beautiful moment. It's Christmas Eve this year. Christmas Eve. Christmas is a big day, right?
Yeah.
Christmas Eve is a big day in the church. So I have daily mass at 7 a.m. and now you're running around all over the place, visiting people, getting the church ready, doing all sorts of stuff, preparing for Christmas. And we have a 4 o'clock mass at Christmas. We have a 6 o'clock mass at Christmas, and we have a 10 o'clock mass at Christmas. I do all three. I'm at all three. I'm greeting thousands of people as they come to church, and I'm wore out, man. So I got the pastor hat on, and I'm exhausted. I'm wore out. The 10 o'clock mass is over. It goes till about 11:30. Right? We clean up. We turn the lights out. We get to church ready for the next morning. We have mass at 8 a.m. So now it's midnight. Church is locked up. I'm dragging myself the block away over to the rectory, and I got the fire department phone in my back pocket, and I hear ding ding. I'm like, oh
No.
don't be a fire, don't be anything, don't be nothing I gotta go to. And I pull out the phone and I look, and it's just a simple house fire,
Yeah.
right? I don't have to go to that, right? But I look at it, and in my mind I think, okay, that's engine 116 will be there, squad 5 will be there, engine 101 and truck 41 will be there. I'm going to go,
Yeah.
right? I don't have to be there. I'm exhausted. I'm wore out. It's midnight. I've been at it since 6 o'clock that morning. I've got to be at it again in a couple hours. But I'm like, I know all those guys. Those guys are awesome,
Yeah.
right? I know that shift. Those guys are awesome, right? I'm going. So I Google search the address, and I see this like abandoned house. And I'm thinking, these guys are going to have the time of their life.
Oh yeah.
Just beating the hell out of this abandoned house that's on fire, right? I mean, just doing their job, but having a blast, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I show up on the fire scene, and it's Christmas Eve now into Christmas Day. And the first person I see is a policeman, a young lady. And Father Ryan, what's up, man? How you doing? And I'm like, who is this, right? And I'm standing there talking to her for like 15 minutes before I figured out who she was.
Yeah.
So I married this couple, 2 firemen to each other, and she stood up in the wedding.
Oh no way.
I didn't even recognize her because she's dressed as a cop.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And we're talking and shooting the breeze. And, the battalion chief is there, and I'm chatting with him. And these guys are like catching a glimpse of me as they're in and out of the house and, changing their bottles and all sorts of stuff. And they're catching it. And we're just, having a blast.
Yeah.
Just having an absolute blast. Fire's out. We're picking things up. A guy in the neighborhood, he's literally pinned in by fire trucks and fire engines and squad cars. And he's like, I'm going to move my car in the middle of a fire.
Yeah. Right.
So he gets in and he's moving his car. He's going to drive up onto the lawn of the house that's on fire to turn his car around. And the cop's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they're banging on the hood like, stop, stop, stop. Right? He's going to go over all the hoses that are charged with the water. And now we're all like laughing at this. And I mean, it's absurdity. It's craziness. I mean, water's flying everywhere. And I mean, it's insane. But it's Christmas Eve.
Yep.
It's the middle of the night. We're in Inglewood having a time of our life.
Yep.
Right now the fire's over. We're cleaning up. We're pulling hose and we're doing all sorts of stuff. And, I'm, just kind of screwing around with the guys. We're making fun of each other, laughing. Father, what'd you do? How'd you end up here? What are you doing tonight? I said, well, I had nothing going on. I thought, I'm going to take a walk through Inglewood, and here I am. Right.
Yeah.
And they're all laughing. And, night's over, fire's out, all the hoses back on the engine. We're all about cleaned up. And, there's this culture where guys will go and they'll take pictures of the fire department doing their job and the rest of it. And usually they're retirees or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's this guy who's like, hey, everybody get together. We'll take a Christmas picture. So we all get together. We're standing there. I'm in the middle. We take this big, giant picture of like 25, 30 firemen, a couple cops. We're standing in front of the engine in the truck. And it's just awesome.
Love it.
I get home. I'm getting guys texting me about the picture. And, hey, I saw you at the fire. And it's just awesome. So I go to mass in the morning, 8 a.m. I'm dragging.
Oh, I bet,
I'm
brother.
dragging. I'm so tired, right? And but when you're doing what God wants you to do, you get the energy, right? So I celebrate mass. I'm golden, right?
Yeah.
Mass starts. I'm golden. We get through the mass, and I'm standing in the back of church, and I'm greeting people. And there's a parishioner, nice guy, great guy. I see him a lot. He's really involved in a lot. And he comes up to me, and he had this funny look on his face. And he says, hey, he goes, thanks for being at that fire with my boy last night. And he starts to kind of tear up. And I was like, yeah, I had the time of my life.
Yeah.
He goes, no, it means a lot to me that you're there for our guys, especially my boys. He's got 2 of them in the fire department. I was like, yeah, dude, you got it, man. It's the privilege of my life. This is the privilege of my life. This is what I talk about when I say, God, look what you let me do.
Yeah.
And I didn't try to get any of this. I didn't try to achieve any of this. This is all happening in spite of my efforts, not because of them, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, stop trying so damn hard and just resist less. Let God do what he wants to do.
So true. It really is. Because when you try to force something in your life, like, God, what am I doing wrong? I can't get this to go. And all you're doing is you're fighting yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Stop fighting yourself. Get out. Hey, I have some advice for you. Get out of your own way.
Right.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
It's cool to be part of the brotherhood, though, isn't it, brother? Like,
it's awesome. Yeah.
Just that atmosphere, the group of guys. And I'm telling you what, there's CFD, CPD, they can talk some shit.
Oh, just the right amount of crazy, aren't they?
Just the right amount of crazy.
Just the right amount. And it is a blast.
It's so much fun.
I have learned new language.
Oh.
Right. And I mean, let me tell you, I'm using all the self-control I have right now not to cuss into this microphone because this will go out to the world. But like, even though I grew up in the neighborhood surrounded by, meatheads using coarse language.
Oh, absolutely.
That I never partook in.
Ever.
Right. I'm learning new language. I'm like, holy cow, I didn't even know that was a cuss word.
You
I didn't
can
know
use
that? You can say that? Right. I've also never had a bad meal in a firehouse.
Oh, no, never.
Never. Right. I'm going around on Ash Wednesday a year and a half ago. The couple that I married, fireman marries a firewoman.
Yeah.
Right. She's the cook at one of her firehouses.
Okay.
I'm going around on Ash Wednesday, giving ashes, and Catholics on Ash Wednesday, you eat one meal and it's not meat.
Yeah.
So I go in and it smells amazing.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Ash Wednesday, and she said, "Oh, Father, yeah, how you doing? You gonna stay for lunch?" I go, "What are you having?" She goes, "Oh, Cuban sandwiches. It's ham and this and that." And I says, "You're having a Cuban sandwich on Ash Wednesday?" Oh my God! And she looks at me like, "Oh no!" And of course I'm giving her a hard time.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And I wasn't giving it up. I mean, I'm selling this like. And she says, "Oh, I said, I don't know if I can do your wedding."
Oh, you went that deep, huh?
You're gonna eat meat on Wednesday. You're not even a serious Catholic. Why would you even come to mass for your wedding then? Father, I swear to God. I mean, I'm so sorry. I can go. Like, I'm just screwing with you. And the whole house is laughing, and I mean, it's awesome, man.
I love it.
It's just awesome, and catching runs with the guys, and it's a lot of fun, and ripping and roaring through the city. It's a blast, right? 90% of the time, it is the absolute time of my life. The other 10% of the time is extraordinarily difficult. And when they need you, and they need you now. But it's not any less of a privilege.
Yeah.
It's not any less of a joy, right? I tell people it's my privilege and it's my pleasure to be here, right? Even in the darkest of deepest of moments, in the most difficult of moments, it's my pleasure to be here, right? It's not a pleasure for anybody to be here, but for me, it's a pleasure to bring God's presence into the midst of this.
Yeah.
Right. And to bring God's hope. And I hope people understand that differentiation, and I think they do.
I do too.
Because God wants to be a part of everything, right? And the good, the bad, and the extraordinarily ugly, right? because he longs to draw us to him in all of it, right? And when we're drawn to him, things aren't perfect, right? But they're better.
Yeah.
Faith isn't the hope that everything is going to be all right. Faith is the hope that no matter what happens, all will be well.
Yeah.
Right? Even in the midst of our difficulties, all will be well.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah, man.
It may not be the perfect way that we ever dreamed it up to be, but all will be well.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys had a pretty dark month in March. It was a tough one for Chicago Fire.
Yeah, it was real hard. And, we made procession from the hospital to the medical examiner, and the medical examiner to the funeral home, and the funeral home to the church, right? And then we made another procession from the funeral home to the cemetery, and we're driving all over the city in a very slow procession, and a lot of it was in my neighborhood, right? My parish. We passed parishes where they put all their school kids out front, and I saw a lot of wives and children whose and husbands whose spouses go out and do the exact same thing that fireman did every single day.
Every day.
And I saw the fear in their eyes, right? And that fear is always there, and it's kind of tucked down deep below, right? But it bubbled to the surface, and I'm driving along, and just like I said, how Cardinal George loved me because he was called by God to take care of me. I love my people because God has called me to take care of them.
Yeah.
I don't always like them. I love them all, right? And actually, I like a lot of them. I like them all. But sometimes, like all families, it's not easy.
You. No, absolutely, brother.
But I love these people, and I saw them heartbroken.
Yeah, and that's tough.
And that's hard
to see people you love.
Yeah,
in that way.
Yeah, so that was very difficult. But I also began to appreciate and understand, to a deeper level, how that difficulty fissures out across the city to the fire department, the members of the fire department, to the police department, the members of the police department, to the retirees. It fissures out into the lives of so many people. But with the heartache, with the difficulty, with the tragedy, you've seen people come together in an incredible way like I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
Right?
Come together.
Yeah. Yeah, come together in a way that was really reassuring and powerful. Yeah, so it was horrible. And as I mentioned this to a priest who comes to a lot of these funerals, and I said, boy, that was absolutely beautiful. It was horrible. It was tragic. It was still beautiful. And let's pray to God we never have to do it again.
Yeah.
Because it is, as I said way in the beginning, right? I like ritual. I like order, right? And in these situations where everybody's lined up in formation and everybody is kind of doing what's called for to pay due honor. It was powerful. I'll tell you a story about the night of the wake of Mick Altman, Chicago firefighter Mick Altman. Mickey, he died on March the 17th after a fire the night before. And I mean, I don't want to get into things that are personal with him and his family. And stuff,
absolutely.
But I do want to share this, and I think this is more of a fire department family story. Is Nora, Mickey's wife, went into labor the day of the.
That's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in the midst of tragedy, talk about absurdity. I went into the labor and delivery section to visit her before she had the baby the day of the wake, and I walked in the room, and her mother and sister-in-law looked at me, and I threw my arms up. I'm like, what the hell, Nora? You're having a baby? And we all kind of had a laugh. And I said, Nora, I've been in every section of this hospital. I've been in some horrible, horrible situations in this hospital. I've never been more afraid of my life in this hospital than to be in the labor and delivery section.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all laughing at me like, yeah, Father, just when we thought you had courage, right? Like
right.
You're sweating bullets in the labor and delivery section. But so the night of the wake, Nora wasn't able to be there because she had a baby. But here's a beautiful story about the fire department family and the lengths that they'll go for those that they love. Wake's over, right? We're cleaning up a little bit in the church. The Altman family is still there, ready to head home. It is about 37 degrees outside, just above freezing. It is pouring rain, buckets,
Of course, it's Chicago, right?
just pouring rain and freezing. And a guy from the honor guard from the police department says to me, he goes, "Hey, before the Altmans leave," he goes, "you mind stepping outside and saying something to the troops?" Yeah, sure, whatever, right? I'll come up with something. And by step outside, he meant outside.
Yeah.
And I stepped outside, and all of these firemen were standing outside in formation, at attention, in this deluge. Just this pouring rain, freezing cold, and they're all standing out there in formation from the Chicago Fire Department, from the Dallas Fire Department, from California, from all the suburbs that surround, from all over the place.
Wow.
And there's the limo waiting to pick up the family and take them home. And behind the limo are all the flags from the International Association of Firefighters.
Get out.
And they're all standing there in the pouring rain at attention. And we turned the corner, and I said, "Holy shit." And the only one who heard me was the guy from the honor guard who asked me to come outside. And he turned around and he looked at me with this kind of sly grin. He goes, "Yeah." As in, like, yeah, here we are.
Yep.
Shoulder to shoulder with his family to the very end, right? And then beyond.
Getting chills.
Right. It was so incredible. It was like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah.
It was like something that Scorsese would film.
Right.
And I began to explain to them how you do God's work. You may not feel it all the time. You may think you're just sitting around the table bullshitting. You may just think you're, telling dirty jokes and lifting weights and,
Right.
But let me tell you something. When God says the two or more are gathered, he's present. He means it. And he's present with you when you jump on the rig with your boys. He's present with you when you're around that dinner table. He's present with you when you do all that you do in a selfless way for the people that God calls you to serve. God calls you to serve the people in your communities, and you do God's work, and don't you ever forget it.
Amen.
And it was powerful. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And then we step out into the foyer, and Mickey's family is getting ready to leave. And, he comes from a fire department family.
Yeah.
He's multiple generations on both sides of his family. And the honor guard called all those firemen to attention and to salute the Altmans as they walked out of that church for the last time without their son.
Oh.
And it was powerful. And they stood there at attention, saluting until they all drove away. And, that's important. It's beautiful. It's strengthening, right? And to be able to just stand there and somewhat be a part of it or a witness to it, I felt stronger because of it.
Yeah.
And I know that those firemen and firewomen who are standing at attention, who feel powerless, who feel they have no agency, they gathered it up together again, and they have power again. They have agency again. They have each other to lean upon. It was a powerful, powerful moment, and it was something that I was not expecting.
Right.
I'd never really seen that before. I didn't know that they were planning that, and I turned the corner and I thought, holy cow. And, I think that's something important. The rituals that take place in the midst of tragedy and the rituals that take place in the midst of difficulty, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
They're there to let us know that when you feel you can't do this alone, it's probably true, but you'll never have to do it alone.
Ever.
Right? So those rituals are there for a reason, and they were so beautiful. And I'll never forget that. If I live 150 years, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, there's something special about that, brother, because when I left the hospital, I
Mhm.
had a bunch of cops
Oh, yeah.
out there, and it was so moving to me.
Mm-hmm.
I still think about it. I still get emotional over it to this day.
Yeah.
That is a brotherhood, and those guys, I mean, they signed up to do the same thing I did,
Mhm.
and they could see that in themselves, and I think they see the same thing, during that instance, and I mean, it's special. It really is.
Yeah. It is a special family, right? And just because your family doesn't mean you're always going to like each other, get
Right,
along. You're
right.
going to bust each other's chops. Sometimes it's legitimate not liking each other. But when it goes down, you're there together. And you're there
100%.
shoulder to shoulder. I had a fireman tell me in the midst of this tragedy that there were guys that hated each other on the fire department that stood shoulder to shoulder right next to each other, right? There were guys there was a union election at the same time, right? That are
Uh-oh.
running against each other in the union in the union election, right? And they're running against each other, and in the midst of this, they hugged each other at the medical examiner's office.
Love
Right?
it.
There are guys that really, you know, have some animosity between each other, and, and they're coming together. Maybe not forever, but at least for
For
that
the
moment,
moment.
right? Because no matter what happens, the fact is that those guys and gals that live in that world are the only ones who really fully appreciate what's in the pit of your heart at that moment,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's the police department or the fire department, right, or the military, right? I mean, there's that pit in your stomach that only they can understand. And when you're in that moment, you know you have to stand together, and everything else fades away.
Yeah.
All that stuff's temporary, but our
Agreed.
hearts need to be mended now, and that's what's priority. So to see that happen was incredible. And you know what? Let me tell you something else.
No, please.
I gotta find this story here for a second. Uh, you know, Mickey, his wife, was pregnant uh, when Mickey lost his life in the line of duty, and a week later, his wife went into labor and had a baby, beautiful baby girl. But a lot going on there, emotion wise, right? You have an incredible loss, a tragic loss, but you've also got right the miracle of new life and new birth. And a fireman sent this to me, and I shared it with the Altman family and the fire department and everybody. We were all kind of gathered together. This fireman sent this to me. He's been on the job 20 plus years, he says, and he said when Nora went into labor, Mickey's wife, who's now going to have a baby, and then had the baby, which seems to have been grace-filled and quick. He continues, the amount of people praying for her and the baby was something I've never seen. He continues, we have a lot of faithful people on the job, but this was more than anything he's ever seen. But then when she had the baby, it was like all of us were part of that family. It's as if Evelyn Rose, their baby, was our baby. It was so great to witness, and everybody was worried like she was our own personal friend.
Yeah.
5,000 members of the fire department, right? And now he's saying like everybody thinks that that's my friend,
Yeah.
and they are.
100%.
That's the fact, right? And our hearts were united in an incredible way. So then he finishes and says, and then when word got out that she and the baby were great, everybody rejoiced. Everybody, everywhere, at the firehouse, online, on our text threads, and then he finishes. That baby has more family than any other child on earth.
Agreed.
It was amazing, he says.
That's beautiful, brother.
And it's true. You know, it is true. And, you know, this conversation that we have with regularity with the police and with the fire department, never forget, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a tagline. That's reality. That's life, man. And that's true.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. I think my wife's calling twice. And
Uh-oh.
hopefully there's not an emergency. So you just recently went to go see the Pope,
I did.
and he's a Chicago guy. So how was that experience?
So I knew him before he was Pope. We met each other a number of times. He worked in the Vatican. I saw him in the Vatican. I go to Rome a couple times a year.
Oh, nice.
Work related stuff, right? It's the home office.
Wow, man, that's a horrible work trip right there,
I
brother.
know. Yeah, every man has his cross, right?
Absolutely.
So I used to bring seminarians there every summer. We'd be there for an extended period. And I ran into him, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, hey, how are you? And we talked a little bit, and I explained why I was there, and I bring these seminarians, and, you know, would you like to meet them next year? And you could tell them, you know, what your job is and how the church in Rome helps the church everywhere.
Yeah.
And he says, sure. So we meet each other the next year. I saw him once in between, but it was funny. I was with my family in St. Peter's Square at like 6:30 in the morning. It's pitch dark, and this guy's walking by, and I stopped him. I says, Cardinal Prevost? He says, yeah. I go, it's Ryan Brady from Chicago. And he goes, oh, hi, how are you? And we're talking a little bit. And I says, you're not going to the office this early, are you? And he laughed. He says, no, I'm celebrating Mass for some nuns. I said, okay, well, I've got all these parishioners with me. I says, pray for them. He says, oh, I will, certainly. We're walking away, and my dad goes, who was that guy? I go, that guy was a big deal. That guy was a big deal. He's in charge of, nominating bishops across the world.
Yeah.
So the next year, I'm supposed to coordinate with him to see the seminarians, and I'm going to email him in Lent, and I forgot. So I said, I'll email him after Easter. Well, Pope Francis dies on Easter Monday. And I said, well, I guess I'll email him after the cardinals elect a new pope.
Yeah.
And he comes out as pope. And I thought, well, what the heck am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to reach out to him?
Right.
So much for that. And my dad calls me and he says, hey, that's the big deal guy, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
says, yeah, he's a bigger deal now.
Huge.
He's a huge deal
Huge
now.
deal now.
So I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? I've got his personal email, but when you're the Pope, you don't use personal email anymore.
Right.
So I said, oh, what the heck? I'll email him anyways. And worst case scenario is nothing happens.
Right.
He emailed me back.
No way.
Yeah, he emailed me back and he says, oh, yeah, I remember and I know who you are. And, I'd love to meet the seminarians again. Obviously, it'll be different.
Right.
So I got him to meet these guys who are starting to be priests after one of these audiences. He's got a big audience on Wednesdays, and he was able to take basically a photo opportunity with them, and the guys loved it, right?
Oh, I bet.
And it was very, very cool. And that was last summer, and then this spring or this winter, I went out there again, and I emailed him and I said, hey, look, I'm going to be in town. It would be a real privilege to be able to meet with you, and I don't want to take up your time, but maybe you can just kind of slide me in when you're greeting other pilgrims and guests at your Wednesday audiences. And he says, yeah, sure. Don't worry about it. I'll get you a ticket. Not a problem. So I emailed him back a couple weeks later and I says, I just want to follow up. Where do I need to go and what have you? And he says, well, I'm going to try my best to get you a ticket. It'll be here. I went, oh, man. I guarantee it turned into I'll try my best. And I thought, even the Pope has bosses.
Yeah, right.
We're all subject to whoever's, shuffling the paper or whatever, right?
Right.
So I said, oh, no. So I was nervous. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. But he told me to go to this office in Rome. He says, and I'll try to leave an envelope for you. And I went, and I go to the office, and the guy, his English is very minimal. My Italian's just,
right.
Serviceable at best. I sound a whole lot better ordering at restaurants than I do trying to explain to a guy that I need an envelope that the Pope left me. So I'm telling him, oh, the Pope and I have been corresponding via email. He's leaving an envelope for me. The guy goes, kind of
typical Italian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a very Italian response. Like, yeah, baloney.
Yeah.
So he says, go upstairs. I have nothing for you. Go upstairs. So I go upstairs to the offices. All the doors are closed. All the doors are locked. All the lights are off. I come back down and I tell the guy, nobody's there. He says, just hold on a second. He picks up the phone. He calls some guy, perfect English, right? And I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm getting somewhere now, because there's a language barrier.
Right.
All right, maybe we're getting somewhere. So the guy's on the phone, and I says, my name's Father Ryan Brady. I'm a priest of the Archdiocese of Chicago. I says, the Holy Father and I have known each other, and we've been communicating via email. And the guy interjects and says, you have been emailing the Holy Father? I says, yeah, I know it sounds peculiar. He goes, sure, okay, and your name is again? And he's just so, like, dripping with condescension. Like,
right.
They must have a million people who are just goofballs. Like, oh, yeah, the Pope called me and told me to come here and
blowing
see you.
smoke, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, I know this sounds absurd, and it sounds ridiculous. And the guy says again, and your name is again? What's your name?
Yeah.
And I said, Father Ryan Brady, Brady. And the guy at the desk, his eyes get this big. And he goes, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone. And I said, what? And he snatches the phone out of my hand and hangs it up.
What?
And he says, mi dispiace, padre, mi dispiace. Here's your envelope. He hands me the envelope with the ticket. I'm like, oh, score.
Let's go.
This is awesome. So I get the ticket. And the next day, I show up.
Yeah.
And, you show up and there's like 7,000 people at this audience in this massive auditorium. And there's the Swiss Guard and all their regalia, and this is really cool. Like, I'll never, ever, ever get used to this. But the Swiss Guards will stand at attention, they'll click their heels, and they'll salute a priest as he walks by.
Really?
Yeah. I remember the first time it happened, I was standing just next to a woman, just a random lady. And she said, whoa, that was impressive. And I looked at her, I go, you ain't kidding, lady.
Right.
You know, it was
Right.
very impressive. So I walk up and I show the ticket and the salute, and they go, Padre, pointing forward. I get to the next guy, Padre, pointing forward, Padre, all the way up to the front. Next
No
thing you know, I'm
way.
in the front row. And I turn around and there's just people as far as the eye can see. And I'm like, holy cow, this is incredible, right? So now I'm sitting in the front row with a white Chiefs Fire Department helmet that I have the shield in front, personalized for the Holy Father.
Yeah.
I want to give this to him as a gift from the fire department. And it was just crazy. After the audience is over, now they welcome guests to greet him personally. And I come up to the front and he says, you found the ticket. They left it for you. And I says, they found the ticket. They left it for me. It was so normal yet so surreal.
Right.
So profound. Like the last time the two of us were talking with each other, we were just two guys in black suits and black collars,
Yeah.
just shooting the breeze as the world walked by.
Yeah.
Now I'm in an auditorium of 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people that are all there to see him. Right. And it was so surreal. But once we began to talk, it was just two guys.
Yeah.
Right. It was like with Cardinal George way back when. He's just a guy who cares for the people that God has put in his life. And I showed him the helmet. And I began to explain to him the significance of, the rank goes on the top and your city on the bottom. And in the center was a cross. That's where your company is. And I says, and that's your company, right? I mean, that's who you're advocating for. And I flipped it and showed him a little sticker of my parish and then a sticker from the firehouse that gave the helmet. And it was just a really, really cool moment. He asked me how the parish is, how the neighborhood is. He knows St. Christina. He knows Mount Greenwood. He knows my community, right? Because he's from around here.
Yeah.
And it was just so normal. It was like two guys that have known each other for a long time that get together and start shooting a breeze about the old days.
Love it.
Right? But he's the Pope.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like trying to be very respectful, and it was just beautiful. Right? Here's a guy who just cares about the neighborhood, cares about the community, cares about stuff that we know about. And yet, when I was emailing back and forth with him, he was meeting King Charles of England that week.
That's nuts.
Right? It was crazy. Like, he emailed me back on a Tuesday night, and I said, holy cow. I says, because on Monday he met the King of Jordan and the King of England like the day before. And I'm like, he meets the King of England, the King of Jordan, and then this meathead from Mount Greenwood, right?
Emailing
It's like,
you. Yeah.
Geez. I mean, like, it's overwhelming, right? But
So cool.
But he's still at heart is just a priest who cares for the people of God.
Yeah.
Right. And I asked him and he agreed wholeheartedly, like, please pray for my parish and my parishioners. Pray for the church back home in Chicago. Pray for the men and women of the Chicago Fire Department. Right. And he says, of course I will. Of course I will. And he says, and pray for me. I need it.
Please.
Which is true. But you know what? I wanted to promise him too. I says, the people of Chicago are just over the moon.
Yeah.
And we're praying for you too. And he says, thank you very much. And then I kind of rushed myself out of there because there's thousands of people.
Right, to see him.
And I went to dinner with a priest that night. He's from Florida, but he lives in the Vatican now. And we were talking. He goes, you should have talked to him as long as you wanted till security dragged you away. He loves speaking English. I said, man, what a missed opportunity.
Right.
Could have talked about like the Sox prospects. What's
Right.
the over-under on 100 losses, right?
Yeah, right.
Uh,
That's so cool though, brother. I mean, two kids from Chicago.
oh, yeah.
Just
That's what it is, right?
it's fucking amazing. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, he talks like us. He knows the same idioms as us. He knows, the same neighborhoods as us.
Did you teach him a few of those swears you learned at the fire department? Just joking.
He grew up in Dalton.
Oh,
Man.
he knows.
He knows them.
He knows.
Well, have you've seen a video of him? He's going through St. Peter's Square in the fall.
No.
The Cubs just get eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right, and you got to know baseball to know that the Cubs just got eliminated from the playoffs. It's not like something that's broadcast all over the world. So he's driving through in the Pope Mobile, and there's this family. They're chanting and they're videoing it, right? And they're chanting, "Go Cubs, go! Go
Yeah.
Cubs, go!" And he kind of hears them, and he looks at them, and he gives them kind of this look, and he goes, "Han perdido, they lost. It's over. They lost, right? Han perdido." And I was like, "Holy cow!" The Pope knows first that the Cubs have been eliminated from playoff contention, and He's trolling Cub fans in
Yep.
St. Peter's Square. This is insane.
It's
What
a
does our
s-
world come to?
Hurts my
That's a
feelings.
sad day.
We're Cubs fans.
Hey, look, when people talk to him about the White Sox, he's like, yeah, go Sox. And I know deep in his heart, he's like, even my purse can't help him.
No. The top dog in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I can't
Still
even
not
help him.
helping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you guys had a good run in 05, and then, you get back there one day.
You know what's funny? I mean, we had a good run for a couple years after that, even.
Yeah.
But and even like I was at a playoff game 4 years ago, and then
Yeah.
the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
It's like embarrassing.
No, it's just like the Cubs, brother.
Yeah,
Low bowl
Mhm.
losers.
yeah.
Wait till next year. And you got the Bears, and
Well, the
who
Cubs,
knows where that's going.
the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, and I mean, I was out there. I was happy for them. We were celebrating, right? And I mean, the champagne ain't even dry,
Yeah.
and I got these Cub fans screaming in my face, "Dynasty, baby, dynasty!"
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like,
Spoke too
"Shut
soon,
the
bro.
hell up."
Yeah.
You haven't even slept one night since the Cubs have won the World Series, and you're screaming dynasty in my face, right?
Right.
Like, listen, I remember what it was like to win a World Series and suck almost immediately
Yeah.
after, right? So, like, hold on to that for
That's
a
a
second.
Chicago trait.
Right, exactly, right? And, yeah, and listen, here's the deal. We could have that same conversation with the Pope right now,
Yeah.
and he
Love
would
it.
get it, right?
Love
It's
it.
so crazy.
I
It's
love
surreal. Yeah.
What a world we live in. What a
I-
world we live in, brother.
I would have never imagined in my wildest dreams. And here's another thing, right? Here's another thing. I walked up to meet the Pope, and I thought to myself, holy cow, I'm a priest. I get to meet the Pope. I'm alive. I'm happy. Look at all these, privileged moments in my life. And on my best day with my own effort, I tanked it all.
Yeah.
And yet here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. Is this surreal? And I couldn't help but thinking about my grandparents in those moments. I couldn't help my great grandparents, at least my paternal great grandparents, they lived on a farm. My great grandfather lived on a farm, and they were all kind of shipped off the farm. And I mean, they had no education, they had no hope. My family came to this country from Ireland with nothing. Right? I have a trunk, like a box that carried all my family's possessions into this country.
Yeah.
Right? I got more shit in my closet right now than that I could probably just throw out, and that's all that they ever had.
Yeah.
And they came to this country, and I thought about them, right? There was a lot of my family that was very, very poor farmers that didn't even learn how to read or write until,
And here you are talking to the Pope.
talking to the Pope, with an education and a job and joy and all this crazy stuff. It's an amazing world we live in. And the fact of the matter is no matter who we are or where we're at, God longs to draw us up into more,
Right.
right? Far beyond our wildest dreams.
Look how far you've
Our
come.
God's dream for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Uh-huh.
So I want to get into a topic.
Sure.
Let's see if you want to jump in the topic with me. But
Okay.
What's going on in the world today,
Yeah, it's a
I
mess.
think it's a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
And that's saying it in the nice way.
Yeah.
With, all this Epstein files that are coming out, and these some of these individuals who are in politics, who are in Hollywood, who are participating in these satanic rituals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I think all of it derives from an absence of God, either in the public square or in people's personal lives. I mean, that's evil. Whether it's the pedophilia of Epstein Island or just the sex trafficking of Epstein Island, whether it's satanic displays in the public square, whether it is this kind of this dualism of there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in our world and our society and in people's hearts and in people's souls. And the root of it all is an absence of God.
Yeah.
It's an absence of God in people's hearts and in people's souls, right? So I think it's important for people, all people, not only to live with faith, but to share that faith that they have with those around them, so that they can live in a more productive way, in a more healthy way, in a happy way, in a more holy way. God does not want any of us. He can give a darn if we're good Democrats or Republicans.
Yeah.
That's not our goal, because when you're dead, they're not putting D or R or
Right.
independent on your tombstone.
100%.
Right? What they're going to want to say is, this was a good and holy man.
Yeah.
This was a good and holy woman. Right? And I think that's God's plan for us. Right? But we getting so mired down in the things of this world, but the things of this world are fleeting. We should care for our souls as much as we care for everything else.
Oh,
And listen,
agreed.
I'm all for, right, like taking care of the most vulnerable, taking care of those who are most in need. I'm all for, this is what I did for a living at Catholic Charities, right?
Right.
The downtrodden and those people on the peripheries and the rest of it, right? But we can't do anything without taking care of our own souls, without enriching our souls with God's presence. And then the gifts that we offer anybody in our world, anybody in our society are not just gifts from ourselves, and they're certainly not gifts from government, but they're gifts from God, right? We need to be good stewards of God's love, right? And share that with an abundance. And then people will live in a way where they can't help but live in God's joy in their life because they've received it without any sort of conditions, without any sort of stipulations. It's just someone freely gave me the love that God has for me. And when that happens, we will not be able to help ourselves in desiring to grow in holiness, in desiring to put away the things that draw us into darkness or dark places, right? Since Adam and Eve got yanked out of the garden, right? Um, the evil one has always, even before that, right? So even in the garden, right? The evil one has always tried to tempt us, to
Sway us from the
sway
path.
us, to persuade us, and he's not going to stand in your face and punch you in the nose. The evil one is a coward, right? The evil one is a coward. He's going to stab you in the back, or he's going to punch you in the underbelly, right? That soft spot, that weak spot of yours, right? And so often, especially in our modern world, right, where everything is very saturated in instant gratification and instant pleasure, the evil one he's gonna tempt us. He's gonna persuade us. He's gonna taunt us. He's gonna draw our attention to things that are on social media,
Oh, social media is
to the
horrible.
to the internet, to sexual sin. I mean, all of this stuff. It's the easiest tools the evil one has to rob us from God's presence, right? And look at all the things that are going on in the world, right? The most I don't know if I'd say damning, but the most complicated aspects of people's lives are caused by sins that have to do with money, sex, and power, right?
Oh yeah.
And look at all the problems that are going on online. What are all the problems going on in Hollywood? What are all the problems going on in Washington, D.C.? Look at all the problems that are going on in state capitals, right? Sure, that's 100% money, sex, and power. Look at the problems that are going on in people's homes. It's the same thing, right?
100%.
God calls each and every one of our homes to be a domestic church where God is privileged to live, right? So we need to push the things away that do not cause growth and flourishing for our souls in our homes, right? So listen, if you got to put down a smartphone and not use it at home, do it, right? For the good of your family, for the good of your relationship, for the good of your marriage, for the good of your children, right? Put it away,
Agreed.
right? Um, you know, the great addiction of our times is technology, right? And Pope Leo the 14th chose the name Leo the 14th after Pope Leo the 13th, who lived during the Industrial Revolution, and how the Industrial Revolution of the late 19th century robbed people of their humanity and their dignity, right? Robbed people even of their living and their ability to survive, right? Let me tell you something. We live in a new industrial revolution of technology.
Oh yeah.
And that's why Pope Leo chose that, because of the dangers of this new industrial revolution of technology, artificial intelligence, etc.
It's
It,
it's a
it,
scary world we live in.
oh yeah, and
Scary
it's going to
world.
get scarier.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to get way worse.
So we talked about my own addiction and hitting rock bottom, right? And what other people have a powerlessness over watching loved ones hit rock bottom. I feel powerless over watching the world swirl around towards rock bottom. I'm praying that the world has the willingness to pivot, and that rock bottom for our society and for the world is a soft landing.
Yeah.
But I still don't despair, right?
No.
Because here's the deal. We just celebrate Easter, and in the Christian tradition and the Catholic tradition, listen, through Jesus Christ's life, death, and resurrection, he has conquered all things. We
Yeah.
don't live for this world. We live for a world that's far greater than anything we could ever dream of. And through his life, death, and resurrection, he has purchased for us salvation, right? So, like, I do live with an eye to the things that go on in this world, but I also live with an eye towards and a hope towards things of heaven. And I'm going to strive my best to experience a taste of heaven now through the goodness that God shares with me through one another, right? And I hope that others will do the same,
Agreed.
you know.
I agree. And I think people are waking up. I think there is a big spiritual awakening. I think, because I mean, I've been on social media. I have to for the podcast, which otherwise I would be off.
Yeah.
But there's people putting out these like crusade memes, and people are finding their faith again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are seeing that in the church as well.
My mass attendance at St. Christina is up 40%.
That's huge.
And across the world, even not just in the United States, but the amount of people that are entering the church is astronomical. I mean,
Yep.
It's been talked about. The New York Times is talking about it, right? All these secular outlets are talking about the amount of people who are joining the Catholic Church, right? And it's not who you'd imagine. They're young men, particularly, who are joining the church, and why? Because young men are drawn into things differently than young women.
Yeah.
Young women are more sentimental. They're more emotional. Men, they need something tangible, right?
Yeah.
So young men see the rituals of the church as a tangible way to draw themselves out of the things of this world and into a more productive and healthy life. They're sick and tired of the BS, empty promises of the world, right? They're also sick and tired of being told how bad they are.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
because you're born a man, right? So they're going to a place where they're cherished, right? God cherishes every single one of his beloved sons and daughters, and they're getting that message in the church. And we're in a place in the church where there's been no easier time to learn about our faith. There's been no better time. There's podcasts, there's YouTube channels, there are tutorials online. I mean, I can get more information on my phone right now in 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
Than the greatest of saints were capable of finding in their entire life.
Absolutely.
100 years ago, 200 years ago, right? So, I mean, there's no greater time to learn about and to flex the muscles of practicing your faith. Young men are finding their way there. I think young women will follow, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily because they'll follow, but just because emotion, you achieve that in a different way, right?
Yeah.
It takes a different path. So, I mean, I think they're coming. And frankly, I mean, the stats are there and they're true. When a father of a family leads that family in prayer, and when they go to mass or when they go to church with their family, that family lives differently and lives faith differently. And they, as a family unit, and those children have a greater amount of happiness in their life because they can trust. My grandfather, John Brady, was a World War II veteran. He was a disabled American veteran. The man could barely walk. He had his face completely, crushed in an accident in World War II, and surgically repaired. Spent 2 years in the hospital in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
And he was just very, very, very hobbled his whole life because of it. And I remember him barely able to walk, kneeling down in prayer at Mass every Sunday at 8:30 in the second to last pew in the center right section of St. Christina Church, where I'm privileged to serve as pastor. I remember how important it was for him to acknowledge God and place his heart in God's heart and say, do with me what you will. Take care of my family the way you long to.
Yeah.
Right? I will never forget that. Right? And I'll never forget the way my other grandfather prayed. Right? Another World War II veteran who was island hopping in the Pacific on their way to Japan when they finally surrendered. Right? Who knows if he would have lived? That's what's running through his mind.
Oh, absolutely.
So life is a gift. Life is a gift to these two men. And I remember them praying, and I remember them having faith in something far greater than themselves, and that changed my outlook on life. Right? And now some people in our world, some people in our society think life is a burden. Life is something to be overcome. Right? And you see it in all sorts of public square antics.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's this hatred for life, either our own or other people's.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's horrible. And listen, we've got to get back to a place where we love life. Life is a gift of God. We were made in the image and likeness of God. We are called to something far greater than what we're living.
Yeah.
Right. And let me tell you something. This is not a political statement by any stretch of the means, but we get the politicians and the politics and the government that we deserve. And we are in the gutter as a people, and look what happens.
Oh, it's bad.
Look what happens. So, whatever happened, and I hear this a lot. Well, whatever happened in the days of Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill going out for a drink after a great debate in government, right? Well, we can't do that anymore because we can't do that anymore.
Right.
They can't do that anymore
100%.
because we can't do that anymore. How are you going to expect Dick Durbin to go out and have a cocktail with Donald Trump at the end of the day if brothers and sisters can't even sit at the dinner table at Christmas because of the way they voted?
It's nuts.
Right.
And people write you off because of your political views. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly don't sit anywhere in the aisle. I sit whoever's for the greater good of America. I don't care if you wear red or blue. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
What's in the greatest good for the country? And are we really looking out for our own countrymen and men and women?
Yeah.
Are we or are we not? I don't think so.
Mhm.
But what ever happened to the day is like having a discussion, or you're a Sox fan, I'm a Cubs fan. You're gonna
Right.
stop talking to me because I'm a Cubs fan?
Right.
That's how like far we've gotten, and we just hate and hate. The hate in this country is so bad right now.
Yeah. And my goal and my job and my vocation, what God has called me to as a priest, isn't to help my parishioners, the fire department, or anybody that I encounter to become a better Democrat or Republican or independent. It's not even to help them become a better American. God has called me in a very special way to help the men and women that I encounter through my life as a priest to become saints.
Right.
That's what God wants each and every one of us to be, right? So there was a priest that I know and I respect and I revere very much. He died in 1975, St. Josemaria Escrivá. He says, as a priest, you are not an expert on anything but holiness. That's what God calls you to be an expert on, to helping people grow in holiness. So that's very difficult now because no matter what you stand for, even if it's holiness, it's, that means you're a this or that means you're a that. Cardinal George, my guy, he said way back when, way before politics got as nasty and as ugly as it is now, he says, well, when I tell you I'm pro-life, you tell me I'm a Republican. But when I tell you I'm for immigration reform that's fair and just, you tell me I'm a Democrat.
Right.
When I tell you I'm for, whatever, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm the other thing. And he goes, but in reality, I'm just a Christian.
Yeah.
I'm just a Catholic. I'm just a man in love with God who longs to spread that love with others, right? And what we're being told now is there's no place for those people in the public square. Right? There's no place for moderation. There's no place for somebody in the middle saying, no, we should be a mixture of all of this so that we can live in harmony. There is no place for holiness either in the public square.
Oh, I mean, religion has all been shit on for how many years now?
Yeah, about 250.
Yeah. It's fine. Who's counting?
Yeah.
But it's true, though. You know?
There's an animosity towards faith. And listen, I mean, Thomas Jefferson had it. Right? And people talk about how he was a very faithful man, and they're well, sort of, right? But he had more faith in himself and in reason. Like the French Revolution came from the American Revolution, but both of them came from the French Enlightenment. The French Enlightenment was garbage. The French Enlightenment has caused so many of the problems that we're living with in our society right now. They created a godless society.
Yeah.
And then in the French Revolution, they literally, through an extraordinary amount of bloodshed, removed religion from society. And listen, that hasn't ended. The Spanish Civil War, the Nazis, the socialists, the Bolshevik Revolution, they want absolute power. It doesn't matter who they are. They could be the far right, they could be the far left, it doesn't matter. They want absolute power, right? And what are they going to do? They're going to get rid of God because God is a threat to the power of earth.
Right. Well, and then you also can throw into other religions as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the fights between religions are heinous and awful.
Oh, it's actually scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary, and the thought, or people have this conspiracy of like they're trying to bring on the Antichrist, they're trying to bring on the Savior for Israel, like all this stuff that's going on. It's asinine.
Yeah, we know not the day nor the hour, right?
Right.
And I know that's scriptural. It's what our Lord tells us. So I'm just working on saving my soul and the souls of those.
100%. And honestly and truthfully, that could be said for, I mean, anything you consume in general.
Yeah.
Like you take it as knowledge, but don't let it run your life. Don't live in the fearmonger that's going on in the world with the wars and the country and the possible civil whatever. But that also comes down to the person.
So listen, God's calling every single one of us to grow in holiness, so that we can be happy here. And that's contagious. Just as contagious as hatred, right? It'll spread just as fast on social media. Goodness and kindness is
Agreed.
hatred will,
Karma.
right? Uh, Spread it,
Right.
right? Spread it. I mean, don't hold back. Spread it. And listen, I was standing on a street corner one day, me and another priest dressed like priests, right? And guy says to me, "Y'all Catholic priests?" And I says, "Yeah, we are." And looks at me, gets right in my face. He goes, "Fuck you," and he spit at me. And I kind of lurched forward. My buddy grabbed me, and he says, "Just pray for him."
Yeah. It's hard.
And I said, "Okay, all right." And that was 5 years ago. I don't know the guy's name. I'll never forget his face, but I pray for that guy to this day. There's something going on inside that guy's heart that causes that type of hatred and animosity. And let me tell you something, it affects his family.
Oh,
It affects his community. It affects his neighborhood. It affects his workplace. It affects everything, right? So I'm going to pray for that guy. And in doing so, I'm praying for all those other people too, right? To find the peace that God longs to give them, right? That's how I'm going to fight this battle.
yeah.
Right? That's how I'm going to fight this battle between good and evil, right? I could care less if Donald Trump is the Antichrist or if Barack Obama is, or if it's the next guy coming that they're calling it,
Right.
I don't care.
We'll be
Right?
ready.
Yeah, I'll be ready. And do you know how I'm going to be ready? By working on my soul,
Yeah.
by working on the souls of the people that I encounter, right? So I don't know who the Antichrist is, and I don't think anybody will know until it's too late.
Oh, 100%.
And so let's
Live life.
Let's take care of what we can take care of, right?
Yeah.
Which is our own sanctity.
Right.
Making sure our domestic church, our home, is a place where God can be found and loved and can be enriched by God's love for us.
I don't see anything negative happen from it.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Worst case scenario is you're happy.
Yeah. Oh, horrible.
God forbid.
God forbid.
God forbid.
Well, brother, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got other places to be.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say before you take off?
Yeah. You know, I mentioned this about the fire department when I was talking to them. Say, listen, you guys do God's work, right? So if there's first responders out there, whether you're a fire department, a police department, military, active, retired, whatever it is, like, don't ever doubt or forget that the work you do is selfless work for the people of God that surround you in your community, right? You are quite literally the peacemakers that God calls blessed, right? So don't forget that. Don't forget that you're supported by more people than you'll ever know and you'll ever see. You're being prayed for every single day by more people than you'll ever know and you'll ever see. And God loves the fact that you do the work that you do for him, right? Now, listen, if you're not a first responder, go out and pray for them, right? And when you see them, tell them, right? And here's the other thing. We need to spread the goodness that God has placed in every single one of our hearts to overcome some of these things that we just started talking about, right? A lot of evil out there, a lot of vitriol, right? Put it away.
Yeah.
Carry a little baggage. Life's too short to drag that stuff around, right?
Amen.
God calls us to live in peace. Let it go. And you're like, oh, how am I supposed to carry a little baggage? It sounds easy. You just put it down.
Yeah.
Right? Like, dude spits in my face, right? And I wanted to wring his neck. Some days I still do.
Yeah.
But I pray for him, and it just goes away.
Yep.
You know, if you're carrying resentments around, write them down. And then pray for those people who are the resentments. Pray for those things. Pray for those places that are resentments. And watch how that list just falls apart.
Yep.
Right? Write down instead, when that list falls apart, 5, 10 things you're grateful for every day. Right? And you're like, I can't come up with 5 things. How about this? I just took a deep breath.
That's one.
I have air to breathe and the freedom to breathe it. There's one.
Is there food on your table?
Right? There's another one. Right? And if you got nothing, just think of this. Somebody out there is praying for you very regularly in my prayers before meals or prayers at church or prayers with community or prayers with friends, prayers with family. I will say, let us remember that person who is most needing God's prayers. Let us pray for that person who feels lost and abandoned. Right? I don't know who that person is by name. I may never see their face. It's like that woman at the mortuary, right?
Yeah.
I think of her and I pray for her, and I remember to pray for those people who are lost and abandoned, who feel like nobody's praying for them, nobody loves them, right? I do. Right? So if you are that person, don't forget that. I'm praying for you, and there's other people who are out there praying for you, even if they don't know your name and never will. Right? So we're never alone. We are all made in the image and likeness of God. We are all part of this great family called the church or called humanity, right? God has given us this place to share with each other and love each other in. And if we want the world to be a better place, let's do it.
Hey, absolutely.
right? Let's do it. And like, oh, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's what God calls me to do. Yeah, I'm talking to you. God calls you to do that too, right?
Absolutely.
Every single one of us has a mission to grow in holiness and to grow in happiness. And in doing so, you'll change your life. You'll change your family. You'll change your neighborhood. You'll change your job. You'll change everything, right? And in spite of yourself, almost because of it, instead of because of it, I should say, in spite of yourself, you'll get out of your own way and God will do something incredible with your life. And if you think it's not possible, it's possible. I'm living proof.
Absolutely, brother. Well said, man. Really well said. And I can tell you care. I can tell you're genuine. I can see it in your eyes when you talked about that incident you had with your, the company you worked with before you went into priesthood, and you had that heart-to-heart conversation. I could see the tears kind of welling up in your eyes when you talked about being the chaplain. I can see it in your eyes. You definitely do care, and I do appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. Dad, you have anything? No? All right, you guys. Well, we'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.